Hi, I'm Ncuti Gatwa, here to give a shout out to all the Doctor Who fans across the world. I'm so thrilled to be playing the Doctor and so excited for you all to stream the new season coming to Disney+. We cannot wait for you to see it.
This is not going to work for me. This show is dead to me. I resign from the internet, saying.
Yes, it's time for Type 40 Live, your live streamed Doctor Who show, materializing again here on the Spacebook channel, whatever time zone or time stream that you're joining us from. Welcome. Yes, we're back with Type 40 Live, hitting your screens for content and conversation here on YouTube and Facebook in front of a live chat full of friends, fans and companions just like you. And as ever, we are in podcast form too. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Wow, where do we start? I suppose I better start with the obvious, really. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. We're going to find out who you are in a couple of minutes. Everybody out there receiving us, receiving this and everything we've got coming right at you from the Whoniverse over the next couple of hours. It's been a hell of a 96 hours or so, hasn't it? What a difference a few days can make. Can you feel the the mood changing? It's all lifting, and the Whoniverse seems a bit of a brighter place, doesn't it? Not for everybody. We're going to get stuck into some of that as the show goes along, because it takes all sorts to make a world, doesn't it? And wherever you're coming from about whatever's happened in the recent past and what's to come in the future, obviously we're all ears as always. Thanks to everybody who's joining us in the live chat. Okay, where should we start? I don't think we can really waste any more time than we've got to fill up the console room, really, haven't we? Because we've got a packed show and lots of people to connect with and to reconnect with, both in the live chat on YouTube and Facebook and here amongst our friends and companions. So who's first? I think we should welcome back all the way from the Doctor Who loft, the one, the only, the ever illustrious Mr. JT.
What a welcome. Hello, Spacebookers. Hi, Dan. Hope you're all well. Mate. And, welcome to a reignited JT, because, I'm ready for this because I haven't seen Doctor Who since 2017.
Neither has anybody else, I don't think, mate. There's been some
controversial.
You're looking nice and toasty and warm there, mate.
I am for once, yes. I am indeed. Yeah. And so, hello, all the Spacebookers. I'd like to say hello to the Time Muddler, to Brendan, to Jamie, to Jason, to Paul, to Gary, and to Harry. Hello.
There you go. There's going to be lots of hellos as the show goes along. We'll get to the live chat in a couple of minutes. We're going to bring in some more people. Yes, let's bring in Sarah, scary-eyed ghoul. Sarah Graham, she's back too. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, good evening. Well, it's Halloween. Look, I've got the black cats on.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously, we've got much more exciting things to talk about than Halloween. So
That's very Colin Baker, that top there, isn't it?
Thank you. Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Exactly what JT said. It just feels completely different. I feel like I'm in another world.
I've just realised what's on your top. Who said crazy cat lady? Who says?
Is it me?
Crazy cat lady.
Delete where applicable. Speaking of delete. They may have the Cybermen, but we've got the Mega Man. Yes, the writer, the producer, and the director, the one, the only Mr. Ian David Diaz.
Hello,
everybody. All right, you all right?
You missed the king of the cornettos into that intro.
Well, I don't have any today, but thank God she's gone. That's all I can say. So here we go. Here we go again. Right?
She's gone.
Here we go again.
Who's gone? Who?
No idea.
She's gone, and the rest of us can get down to business.
Absolutely.
Looking smart, and we're looking to the future too. Where were we? It feels like, doesn't it? Okay, where were we? Now we can get on with the good stuff. And he's dressed the part, and somebody else is dressed the part too. It can only be, yes, he looks like he's on his way to the BAFTAs or somewhere much more important, like a slap-up curry, I don't know. We're going to find out when we connect with Simon Horton, the original Lunatic. What's going on, mate?
You got your mic off, pal. You got your mic off.
Bow ties are cool, aren't they? That's what I thought.
They are indeed. They are indeed.
And it's all for a certain birthday that we'll be talking about a little bit later on. Who could it be? And bow ties are definitely cool, as proven by little Lenny. If you can see little Lenny's got his show them your little bow tie. There's his little bow tie.
Wonderful. Hiya, Lenny.
Very dapper, Larry.
It's good to have you back. It's good to have you
later on. That is.
Yeah, it's good to have you both back, Simon. Wouldn't be the same now without Lenny.
Can I just blow my own trumpet just for a second? I know.
Ooh, maybe after 9.
Wait.
I see what you mean. Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
I've made the papers today.
Have you really? Not another. Simon, it's not another Asbo, is it?
Today's Birmingham Mail, because there is a wonderful spread here. There's a full double-page spread here, all about Doctor Who, celebrating the fact that somebody's gone. I don't know whether anybody's heard. Somebody's gone. So we've got a big double-page spread here celebrating, and I am. Oh, here we go. I am. Hold on. There I am.
Wow. That's absolutely awesome. I have seen that picture before, but never before in print, Simon.
That is me in 1988. Yes. That's from 1988. They've got my name wrong. They've spelt it with a W at the beginning, so I've become Simon Wharton. But there we go.
I like that better.
I don't know. I mean, they wouldn't do that to you now if they could see you now all dressed to impress, would they?
Nice tie, Walton.
They certainly.
They got the year wrong as well. They're claiming it's 1983. It was actually 1988. And there we go. But apart from that, apart from the name and apart from the date, everything's accurate. You've got to look at the
Well, that was before I was born, and it was before Charlotte Shields was born as well. Come back, Charlotte.
Here we go. Hello.
Great to see
Simon, I very much approve.
I thought you might somehow. I thought you might.
Me too.
You can see the tone is set already. If you like the sound of all this, then please like the video now. You're going to be having far too much fun later on. To remember, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell. Hit it hard to get all the notifications about what's going on next and when and why. Podcasts, live streams, all the other stuff we get up to here on the Spacebook, both inside and outside, beyond the TARDIS. Let's go and check in, because obviously it's been a busy couple of days. There's lots to say, lots to see, lots to get into, and temperatures to take, because yes, she's gone, everybody, she's gone. Ding dong, ding dong. Let's go and see what people have got to say over here on Facebook and YouTube, where they're watching us. Rabbiting on already. Great stuff. Who's here first? Lord Thoth's here. And so is Crimpline Doubloon. Okay, this is a packed chat. Thank you, everybody who's been here from the very beginning. Wonderful stuff. I'm scrolling all
here back. Before we were.
They were. Doctor Who is back, baby. Says
Hi, Garbage.
Hi, Garbage. How great to see you back. And so is Lord Thoth. Hi, everyone. Hiya, Lord Thoth. Raymond Williams was the very first and says, ahoy, shipmates. As you can see, I love the new logo. We're going to get stuck into the new logo very, very soon. And Derek McManus is here too. Just saying hello. He's atting everybody. It's like slaps on the back when you walk into the pub, isn't it? You see your old mates, that kind of thing. Yes, that's kind of how that is. Who else? Oh, Starry-Eyed Girl. That's you. But Vanessa Law's here too. And so is the classic 80s fanboy. Peter Harrington's here. Wouldn't be the same without you, Peter. Good to see you. Looking a bit peaky there in the profile picture there. Hope that clears up.
Somebody's in the season as well, aren't they, Star?
Yeah.
Looks like it. And Gary Browser's back too. Good to have you back, Gary. And a big hello to Simon Ashley. I got to say, I kind of liked the Centenary special, says Simon Ashley. I've watched it 2 or 3 times so far.
Well done, Simon. Pushing up that rating this week. Well done.
2 or 3 times. We can't quite remember how many, but it's good. I'm glad to. I think it's the kind of thing that you need a few days for it all to sink in, Ian. Have you recovered yet, mate?
Well, I watched her die on YouTube like 70 times, which I was like, every time I saw it, I was going, yes. So that's the only time I've watched it a lot of times, basically. So there you go.
Yeah. Are you the reason that's now at like 1 million, that video?
That's right. That's me, 1 million times.
Hi to Shah from Geek Rambles there. Shah, she's out there somewhere. I think she's probably still celebrating from Sunday. We'll have to see, won't we? Yeah, good stuff. But yeah, we're here, and the Doctor is absolutely back. The proper Doctor. We're going to get stuck into all the news, or as much of the news, as we can possibly squeeze into a couple of hours worth of Doctor Who chatter here in the console room on Type 40 Live. Obviously, there's been lots of positivity and lots of warmth, I think, towards all of this news. But yeah, I mean, people have. I think the special that was on Sunday, that the power of the Doctor. Simon there, he's watched it a few times. Simon in the chat, and I have seen. I think a mixed reaction is being kind. But people are, at least, they're talking about that and it and where's it going to go. But a great many people, I think, Charlotte, were immensely confused by the bulk of what went out on BBC television at 7:30 on Sunday just gone, weren't they?
Oh, I call it the Chibnall effect. Where you get lots of information, lots of pretty sights, and at the end of it you go, what actually happened? David Tennant came back. That's what happened.
I just actually ask a question? Because this is something that we didn't cover on Sunday night, or I don't think we did. Yeah. What was the actual story about? Who was trying to do what? Was the Cybermen trying to destroy the Earth? Was the Master?
The Master was trying to re-race Doctor Who from all time and space. That's what he was trying to do.
It was basically, Simon, the plot. Yeah, it was the plot of the TV movie. It was exactly the same plot, except they took it that little bit further, and there was a lot more noise, flashing lights, and people popping up for no good reason. I mean, it's one thing that we were confused. I think most of us were confused. The people that were in it were actually confused, including Katie Manning. She's been up on Twitter. She's very confused. She thought she was in the 60th anniversary, and she's put on her Twitter page saying, I am told this was not the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. I honestly don't do years or notice them pass, but whatever it was still absolutely brilliant. Living in the moment. We absolutely approve of living in the moment, Katie, and you keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, a great many people, it seems, I thought that could have been a myth. A great many people who got involved in that do seem to have been labouring under the impression, JT, that was a 60th anniversary special. I wonder why they'd confuse them like that deliberately. Would they do that?
Well, firstly, can I just say I'm very impressed that Mega Geeky found the plot in a show.
I've worked it out.
I'll say well done to you, Ian, for picking up that. But what I've heard or what I've read rather on social media over the last few days is basically it was a rehash of everything that had gone before. So the TV movie was quoted, Journey's End was quoted, The Stolen Earth was quoted. But I'm not surprised about Chibnall's technique, lack of.
Yeah. No, you're right. Anybody seen the YouTube video where all the Jody fans was in this living room?
Yes,
and they
I
were
saw
watching
that.
it? Did you see it? I was laughing my
They
head off
managed
when
to
they were
get-
crying. I was like, what the hell?
all eight Jody Whittaker fans, they
Yeah.
all
They're
congregated
in one room. They're in one room and holding each
Yeah.
other. And I thought,
Yeah.
my God, these kids are going to be in control of the country soon. And it scared the crap out of me, to be quite honest.
That was the funniest thing I've seen in my life. It really was.
I need to see
terrible.
this. I haven't seen this yet. I
It
need
is
to-
I don't
funny.
think it's not something that I would recommend. I don't know about Ian, but I wouldn't recommend that at all. Avoid it. It just came up because I was looking through some social media for stuff that we'll do later on, and it came up, and I thought, right, I'll look at that. And I don't know how to write down wailing sob sounds without writing.
I only saw a little bit of it. I didn't watch all of it. I just saw a little bit.
It wasn't where I went to the very end where they were all like,
Well, I
dear.
have to say, everybody, that thank you. Yes, because we were here, weren't we? We were live on YouTube within minutes of The Power of the Doctor finishing on BBC One and wherever else. Actually, no, it didn't simulcast, did it? It didn't simulcast this time,
No,
but
it
we were
won't.
here within minutes anyway. We were giving our take on that. The video's done really, really well. It's up to 2,000 views just as of now, a couple of days later. So thank you, everybody who's watched and commented. Keep them coming. We're going to get to some of those questions on a feedback show at some point in the future, but that's all up there now. And the podcast edition is going to be up on the feed too at type40.podbean.com and all over the podcatchers. That's going to be there in the next couple of days as well. But thank you, everybody, for all your support. And I think we enjoyed ourselves generally. I think we probably enjoyed the conversation more than the actual episode, Charlotte.
We made our own fun, as I say.
We
have
did.
done a lot of late.
I've known that expression for years. You make your own.
I still feel really guilty because Geek Rambles. Hello, Shah, who's out there watching. I feel really
she's
guilty. You really enjoyed the episode, and we just spent an hour and a half just rubbishing it. And I
We
really
were like
hope
moaning
we didn't ruin
minis,
it for you.
Simon, weren't we? Just
I think she
moaning.
understood. I think she understood though, because basically she's a fan of Doctor Who and she wanted this thing to work. Blah 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 blah. But I think she understood where we come from, and also she can't answer those questions like where did Graham come from? Do you know what I mean? Graham just appeared.
Nobody
She can't
can.
answer those
Even
questions.
Jim
Yeah.
can.
So yeah.
Why,
So, you know.
why did John Bishop just decide after 5 minutes, I'm going now?
Exactly.
Because his
Exactly.
contract
I
wasn't
still don't know.
extended.
What was the title about? Was the power of the Doctor? I don't know. Everyone should they brought together at the end.
Don't know.
Well, I thought they were hinting at that kind of thing of you
Reputation.
cannot take away my power. I thought it was supposed to be some sort of girl power,
knows? Yeah.
female empowerment thing.
Well,
And
you
I
see
did wonder because at one point, JT, you're not going to believe this because I know you didn't watch it. At one point, they sort of walked in a little black girl who was in chains.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
I know
What?
they actually did that.
How
Yeah.
brave of them! How stunning and brave!
So I thought they were going, and it turned out that it was sort of a power source that just looked like a little black girl, and they were taking her power ever so subtle, Chris. Yeah.
See, I look at that title, "The Power of the Doctor," and it just encapsulates everything that's wrong with Reboot Who from 2005 to now.
Possibly.
Because he is not a bloody superhero. He's just a Time Lord traveling around getting into trouble. And sometimes he does it deliberately. Sometimes he doesn't because he wants to go fishing. That's the problem with this thing. They've turned him into some sort of absolute nonsense. And I hope in the next version, Russell, good evening. Hi. I hope they reboot that again and take it back to a proper Doctor, a familiar Doctor from 1963 to 89, who just wants to go around and have fun and energy and then fight monsters every now and then. Do you know what I mean?
You're right, JT, because they literally turned him into some kind of god, didn't they?
It was awful, Ian. Yeah, and he's not a superhero. He's not a god. I know you could sort of claim that because he's lived 2,000 years or something now. I've lost track.
It's different, JT, for the people who he encounters to maybe perceive him to be a god, the way they did in the Face of Evil, or even in the David Tennant era to some extent. But no, he is not a god and should never.
Doctor would run from that as well. He would want nothing to do with that. He's just a Time Lord who's on the run from his people.
I think getting very, very deep for just one moment, we can probably blame, to an extent, Andrew Cartmel for starting all that off back in the late 80s, when I was more than just a Time Lord. That was part of the...
You're right, Walton. You're definitely right. Definitely.
Well, that's where that's where it could stem from. But of course, that finished, didn't it, with 89? And then Andrew went on to do other lovely things. And what's happened is fans have come in and retained that information And that's the problem. It's turned
Yeah.
into one big
Yeah,
fan
maybe right.
nonsense now,
I'm glad
rather than
they've got-
the masses.
I'm glad they've got the diamond thing back. Hopefully, that's a sign
Yes!
saying
Well,
they're
we'll
going
get into that.
backwards to
We'll
the
get into that
classic.
shortly. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves just too yet.
Yes,
We've got
We
other
have been
things
ahead of
to
ourselves
get
since
to.
June.
I was Carol Jude's here in the chat says I was just about to ask that. What was the power?
Isn't
Well,
that He-Man? Didn't He-Man used to do that?
Yeah.
He's got the power. He's got
The
power.
problem
But-
is, in many ways, I mean, this is one of the problems with these whole of the Doctor titles, that we have to blame Moffat for those, because what was Time of the Doctor, what was Day of the Doctor, what was Night of the Doctor, you know what I mean? That it's all a bit generic, isn't it? It's a bit safe and uninteresting. And
The pink polka dots of the Doctor. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all daft. It is. Let's just hope we're going somewhere else now, and that's done.
Correct.
Let's
I hope so.
go and
I sincerely hope so. Garbage says, was it entertaining? Yes. Did it look good? Yes. The pubs were also open, by the way. That could explain why. Yes. Were there plot holes? Yes. Was it well written? No, of course not.
Well, it didn't sound good. I had loads of people messaging me saying that they couldn't hear what they were saying.
In the beginning,
Oh, I couldn't tell you that.
yeah, in the beginning, they were saying that the beginning with the Cybermen and the little black girl, for some unknown reason, I couldn't hear what they were saying either. But
the
there
stuff
you
on
go.
the
BBC
train at the
again.
beginning was particularly bad. I just couldn't work out what was going on there.
The BBC are getting this criticism all the time about everything, and have been for the last few years. What are they doing? It's basic rudimentary knowledge there about your sound level, isn't it? It's shocking.
And the thing that's really strange, as Ian will know, because like Ian, Ian and I both sat in on edits, and you have to be really precise with this, because the sound has to hit certain parameters to make it broadcastable.
Yeah.
And they sit in a full, this is done really meticulously and carefully and scientifically with gauges and meters. So I just don't understand how these are getting out. These programs are getting out that you can't hear the dialogue on, and the BBC is particularly bad for it.
Well, they've got a load of idiots running the BBC now. Anyway, Peter Harrington has just announced the one of the next forthcoming specials. It's called Bugger All of the Doctor.
I love it.
Well done,
Cheers,
Pete.
Peter. Keep the inside information coming, my friend. And I also want to say hello to Meta Whovian, who's back. They were back here on the last show and dropped a couple of comments. Good to have you back. And
Hello,
they say, it's good, it's done. We are now going to go to the real deal. We are indeed. But I want to take a quick look over here at the ratings, because last time on the show, we wondered where the ratings were going to go, didn't we? And we do have the overnight. So the overnight figure for Sunday night, 7:30, not the best time slot, but the kids were off most of last week, I think, half term virtually everywhere. So the overnights were 3.7 million, and that is around, I think I said 3 million, a couple of you said 4, didn't you? So
I said
we're in
4,
the same ballpark.
I said 2.
But there was a peak of 4.4 million for the last 2 or 3 minutes.
And can't think why.
Yes, there's no reason whatsoever.
Sorry, go on, Dan.
Well, we've got the audience appreciation index figure as well of 82, which is up considerably on other figures in the Jody Whittaker era, particularly during the Flux series last year. So this is gone back up. But of course, that will have been a response to, I suspect, largely to the last 2 minutes as well.
Yeah.
We can't prove that, but I suspect it would.
Absolutely. But let's just put that in context as well, because on the same night, Strictly got 8.1 for the results show. Antiques Roadshow got 4.44, and the BBC News got 3.88.
Wow.
And the thing is, I still maintain what I said on Sunday, which is I honestly think that there will be a degree of peaking in those figures because of the fact that old dinosaurs like me knew Tegan and Ace were coming back and watched it purely for that. And I'm not in any doubt about that at all. So it'd be really interesting to see what would have happened had those old companions not been coming back. Would it have been probably, I suspect, closer to the 3 million mark in all honesty than the 4?
Yeah.
So, certainly, I agree. Certainly, that more mature fans would have come along to have a look at the companions they remember. And from what I hear, they were rewarded as well. But, had that element not been in there, there was no way to tag them all. There was no way to get it because nobody had invested in this particular version.
It was oddly empty, Charlotte. Go on,
JT, that's why that special had basically nothing to do with the actual era of Jodie.
Yes. Yeah.
It scrubbed everything it could from the actual creative essence away, and it was just, here's a bit of fun, here's a bit of spectacle. That's what it was. So it's no surprise, and
it's
also there was no surprise that none of the kind of so-called woke stuff was in it as well. It was completely scrubbed of that completely. There was no one slagging off men, there was none of this, none of that. So it was quite interesting.
It wasn't completely absent. When you reflect on it, you think, okay, they made sure that Dan was out of the picture pretty fast, so it was all it was largely women that was saving the world, and there was a couple of very silly things that were said, but it was inoffensive. I felt they did strip it mostly away.
Yeah, I think Chibnall didn't know what to do with Dan at all. So it's probably the easiest way to get rid of him, saying, I almost died. I think I'll go back home now, kind of thing. So it's the only way to get rid of him. So that's what they did.
Dan exhibited, he's shown more growth in those two scenes, in between those moments, than he did throughout most of Flux. So why was he there? I honestly don't know. Owl Wachowski is in the chat and says the true power of the Doctor is bringing everyone together, saving as many as possible and doing as little harm as possible. Thank you for that comment, Al. What a lovely thought. Yeah, the real Doctors, you remember, and they did run these promo posters out throughout the countdown to the power of the Doctor there, which is those same old paintings again, JT, that we've moaned about a few times. They give them they've given them fresh go over in the Adobe Creative Suite there and added some lightning and things like that.
That one gets to me though because it's the wrong quote.
Well then, here we go. The long way round.
Wrong. That's the wrong quote.
That was Matt, wasn't it?
Correct them.
No. That was the Bradley Doctor, which is not the first Doctor.
Of course.
If you're going to put a picture of the first Doctor represented by Hartnell, you want his last words.
But these posters, though, they did inspire some people. So we've got a lot of extra Doctors got thrown in the mix there, such as who remembers this guy?
No, he didn't. He thought he was the Doctor for some reason, didn't he?
Even the David Burton Doctor managed to get a poster from the fandom there. That's what we love about Doctor Who fandom, and that's certainly why we do all of this. And that's probably why they did that as well, all for the love of Who, for the love of Doctor Who. That's what brought us all together to talk about this silly old TV show that we love so much, that many of us grew up with and come back to time and time and time again, and it's about to be reinvented all over again, even if they've put us on simmer for another 13 months until we see some more. But generally, I think we're winning, everybody. I think we can safely say that we're winning. More people join us in the live chat. Yeah, great audience tonight. Thank you. Keep the comments coming. Jack Thursby's here too. You start to feel like a curmudgeon rubbishing that era so much, but it's just so awful. It's really a struggle to find anything, a single thing that has been close to good. And the Time Muddler's here too, and so's Mark Milford, who says, JT telling it like it was and should be again. Absolutely.
That's what I'm here for, Mark. I'll keep you right.
Excellent stuff. So keep all the comments coming. Don't forget to please hit that like button. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications about what we're doing next and when we're doing it. Hell of a week here for all of us in Doctor Who fandom. No sooner has that all stopped and all wrapped up, and we were sort of reeling and then buzzing and then reeling and buzzing again. Then I think we all needed a bit of a lie down. There was lots more excitement coming at us right away. Within, I think, as soon as we came off that live stream, the Power of the Doctor live stream, I was getting messages right away about press releases and about further news that was coming. But the first thing, and when there's so much that's broken in the last couple of days, where do you start? I think we had to start one particular place in reference to a show that we made just a few weeks ago. Do you remember, Charlotte? We looked at branding, didn't we? We put out an entire show called Type 40 Live Brand Aid, where we looked at the logos past and tried to wonder where they could possibly go next with this. But we had been hearing rumours for quite a long time about branding. We weren't sure, but the general lay of the land did seem to be that they were looking to the past before they move forward. And that's exactly what's happened just in the last couple of days. Now, there was a big press call, in New York about 2 days ago. It was Tuesday, wasn't it? Tuesday the 25th. And Ncuti Gatwa was there, and so was the TARDIS. And I think there was sort of posh invites and all that kind of thing. And I wondered what was going on, because the buzz was starting to build, and I think most of us had been tipped off that something was going to happen. That they were going to sort of hit the ignition on the new era pretty quickly. But I don't think I could have imagined, JT, that it would be just 36 hours after the last era finished on TV.
Actually, it wasn't. It was when you guys were doing the reaction show. It was the trailer where Bad Wolf really took control with BBC Studios and said, right, that's done, we're going. Because that teaser trailer that followed the show immediately was them saying, it's ours now. And that's the start. That was the start there. So actually, it was from that minute. And then the press release arrived. The gorgeous picture of Ncuti and David Tennant and Catherine Tate came out. That all came out immediately after it as well. So it was that quick. As soon as the closing credits were gone, bang, that was it.
Lightning fast. I think the thing that we have to go to first is simply the logo. You know, we knew the logo was going to change. We weren't sure when.
Well, no, let's clarify that. We knew it was going to be the diamond logo. We tried to hint on it before. We certainly didn't know. I was told about it in June.
We've mentioned it on the show multiple times. Again, this is one of those things that we talk about on the show between us, and people call us liars, don't they? So you don't know what you're talking about on that show. You're making it all up. Why would they do that? And here we are again. Type 40 were once again right. I'm sure the people in the live chat would remember that. And yeah, we did speculate about where it could possibly go. It seemed to me to be they would have to look to reconnect with the past somehow, but I don't think I could have been prepared for this glorious site. So we do have the logo here. So let's take a lovely big look at the brand new old Doctor Who logo. There it is in all its glory, everybody. So we've got the visage of a diamond, a blue diamond logo there with yellow trim coming out of the vortex and crackling with energy. This
just like myself on a Saturday night.
Even though that blue is kind of cold, there's something warming about this familiar sight, isn't there, Simon? To see this hurtling towards us like that, Doctor Who is back.
Well, for a start, it's TARDIS blue, isn't it? So you know, blue is very much a recognisable colour for Doctor Who. I mean, certainly, obviously, I think everybody is just blown away by having this diamond logo back. But I think we are also a little bit surprised. I could see that Vanessa said made a comment in the chat just now, saying, "Gosh, they really are scared, aren't they?" I think that's absolutely true. As delighted as we all are to see the diamond logo back, it really does smack of desperation when you think of the initial Russell T Davies launch in 2005, which was bold and new and fresh and forward thinking. This couldn't be more backward looking if it tried. And so it really, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it, I'm made up about it. As a dinosaur, you know, I'm absolutely made up about it, but I do think it smacks of clearly they know they have got a heck of a lot of work here on their plates to pull back audiences.
I'm going to slightly disagree, because this is what's called the interim logo. And as a diamond, it's there to celebrate the diamond anniversary of Doctor Who. We have nothing on record because, you know, I've been told, I have seen this in document, this is an interim logo, which would suggest to me that in some way, shape or form, that is going to change again for 2024.
The only thing I go along with that, JT. The only rider I would put on that is that, again, as we've said so many times in the past, the general public don't know that. They won't have tweeted that it's the diamond anniversary next year, and so for the general public just looking in, what they're seeing is, wow, Doctor Who is taking a very firm backward step. It's not something, as I say, please don't misunderstand me. I am made up about this, and I think it's brilliant that we've got the diamond for the diamond anniversary. It's beautifully thought through. But as I say, to the general public, they don't see that. They just see a backward step.
Well, it is the case, though, isn't it? It is the case, guys, that sometimes creatively, with any endeavour, you know, it certainly happened to me in work. Sometimes you have to take a step back and to the side before you can properly move forward. And I think that's absolutely what's happening here. I think it's timed perfectly because it's the diamond anniversary, but it was essential to them to put out something that struck more people across the world, that brought out that kind of latent Whovian in everybody, because this will be the logo or a version of the logo that, for example, all those Americans who watched it on PBS with their parents in the 70s and the 80s, this will have represented the time of the show that they will have latched onto. There's people of our generation too, and it reeks of it being a design classic. And even though I like a lot of the Doctor Who logos from times past, are they design classics? Maybe not. I think the TV movie logo that was used up until a few years ago, that version of it, that possibly, I think it's debatable. I've got lots of favourites, but I think it's debatable. As a designer, this is me speaking, it's debatable that any others are actual design classics. Geek Rambles, Shah, she says, whether you loved or loathed it, we all survived it. And look at us here still talking about it and having fun. Doctor Who is not dead. No, to be honest, it feels more alive, Sarah, than I think it has in several years, seeing this logo like this crackle into life.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I don't want it to be an interim logo. I want it to stay, and I
agree.
I've got some feelings about that as well. Go on, sorry, Sarah.
The bottom, it looks like a person going, come back to me.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, we've said before, the public are not engaged. And for them to bring this back is a way to engage with the public, because there will be a certain age group that grew up with that logo. It is a special year. Simon, the public will know next year. There is lots planned for next year to celebrate the 60th anniversary. They'll know. I don't think they would have seen anything about this logo unless one of us has shown them at the moment to say, look at this. And even then, it's not going to hit them or whatever. So next year will be a big thing. But, what's going to have to happen now is this is last chance saloon, really, for the production team. They've got a massive 5-year program here. It has to succeed. And if they're going to have to bring back the public, you do it in a familiar way. The familiar logo, David Tennant, Catherine Tate, hit the ground running, bang. Let's see what happens, though, Sarah, with this one. If it's successful, they may just alter the colours for 2024. We don't know, but at the moment, it is interim.
Well, do you think it has something? It is being used. Sorry, and it is being used on the website already. I understand. It came out immediately in various different forms on the website. Sorry, and carry on, mate.
Sorry, I was just about to ask you guys. Do you think the reason why they brought this back too is because the Jody logo was all over the merchandise, and a lot of people complained that it was all over, and some people didn't buy because that logo was on the. Do you reckon they knew that? Obviously, they're not going to say they knew it. So now they've gone back to this. Do you think?
If I'm thinking of a word that even I've got a sense of already, it's rebuild, and I think that's what the BBC is trying to do. They know that they lost their way when it came to the fan base. They know that a lot of the fan base abandoned this show, so they're having to get that fan base back, and they will never say that out loud. But they say it with their action, and that diamond logo, for me, is the perfect mix. It's got enough bits of it that it's classic, that it's got that link that JT is, but it's new as well. That's what I like about it. It's
felt, Charlotte,
they haven't completely just ripped off the one from the classic era.
3D as well.
They've changed it a bit, and I think that's the best way to do a bit of both worlds, honestly.
I like the 3D Doctor.
As this appeared,
it's nice.
As this appeared in all its glory, like you say, Ian, there's a lot of nuance to that logo. There's lots of gentle warmth and glows, and there's texture to it, which only gets when you see it in high res. You see how much work's actually gone into this. But it really does strike the right note with people, and we can take a little look at this is what the style guide looks like. So this actually leaked a couple of weeks ago. We got sent this. Numerous members of our panel got sent this, and we have promised faithfully not to share it. And but it did end up on Twitter in the end. People did share this in the end. Now, you were right there, JT. I've seen the word interim crop up next to this logo over and over and over again.
It's there on the top right.
But what I would say is yes, it is there on this graphic. We're looking at these 4 different versions here, which can be applied right across not just publishing, but social media and the web. It's all there, different treatments of it to go wherever you may need it to go, which is pretty much standard now, and it looks very striking in all of them. But speaking as a designer as well as a Doctor Who fan, and if this is an interim brand as they are labeling it here, I think what we could see is for the next logo is not something revolutionary but something evolutionary, and perhaps the single line or horizontal versions, they could be the ones that take the brand forward, maybe with the lettering sort of freed of the arch, and the diamond itself could disappear with the other elements taking that single tier line. I'm not quite sure, but that's probably
single line and the horizontal line are for things like spines.
Yeah, I've already seen it being used, in fact.
Absolutely. I'm quite lucky in that I've seen some merchandise mock-ups, and it looks fantastic. That's all I'm going to say. It looks absolutely fantastic. And on the spines of the books that are coming for the 2023 period, which are in relation to the 60th anniversary, the logo looks sparkling. It really, really does. And it brings back that whole thing and impact. And I just hope now, again, Russell, hello, but I hope that any new series lives up to that logo, because you have a lot of boots to fill there with that logo, and a lot of heritage to take on. So I hope the series actually matches that logo.
Derek Brady says, I love the old new logo. Aidan McGeer says, I thought you were just wishing for it, you sneaky buggers. We do wish for something.
You've got to stick with us because we tell you stuff. You've got to listen, because sometimes we hear stuff. In fact, a lot of the time we hear stuff and we'll tell you, but we can't tell you. It's like being down to Rovers, isn't it?
Shah says the logo is beautiful, but I wish they'd have done something a little fresher and newer. But I'm not going to pick on something that is still gorgeous. I think that's a very pragmatic way of looking at it.
Yeah, but Shah, you liked the last episode. Do you know what I mean? So
you're not going to hear the end of that, Shah.
From what I know, Shah is in the minority there, because this has brought people back. It's got me excited, and I haven't watched the show since that awful last couple of years, 2016, 2017, where it was just like, oh, for God's sake, this is so tired. And this has reinvigorated. So you tie that with what Ncuti is saying, you tie that with the teaser trailer, it is bringing people back. I mean, look how many fans are now excited, myself included. We're like, oh my God. And for me, this is like 1989 and 1996, that period there, because by the time it comes back next year, I wouldn't have seen Doctor Who for 7 years. So it's a real case of like, wow, okay, bring it on.
And whilst it's true, Simon, you worked in design as well, didn't you? And you know as well as I do, and in publishing too. Come to think of it, you can't judge a book by its cover, and all those things are true. But in branding, in advertising, doing something like this, it's a statement of intent, isn't it?
It absolutely is a statement of intent. And what I was going to say to sort of follow on from JT was, yes, Dan, you're right. It's a very bold statement of intent, and now as a result, it's building up a lot of expectation about that 60th anniversary special, because I now am quite reasonably expecting the show to go back to a more classic style of program.
Yeah, me
that's
too.
That's a big ask.
Maybe.
So Russell, I hope they're treading the line carefully on this one, because they really have set up expectations by going back so boldly and specifically and dynamically to a very, very decades-old logo. You are setting up expectations.
Does that mean the cliffhangers are back? Yay!
It's kind of like they were listening to Type 40 and listening to YouTube buggers talking about the old classic, isn't it? It was like they were listening.
It looks like that, but it was more like we're listening to what's going on in there and then bringing it into the conversation, to be honest. But I agree with what Simon's saying there, but I think as well what they need to do now is actually introduce storytelling into an episode, because that's been the problem with Reboot Who, as I have said on this show before. It's all wham, bam, special effect, done within 45 minutes to an hour, forgotten about. It needs to be fleshed out. And because this is a 3-part episode arc, this is going to be event television in November 2023, over 3 nights. This you can do that. I mean, this is over 3 hours long. This next story.
I'm going to say we can say a lot of things about Russell T Davies, with the things that he is and the things that he isn't, but that man is a storyteller. Nobody can, a world-class storyteller. And whatever you think about his politics, about his manner of late, you cannot argue that that man can tell story. Doc Martin here, the armchair time traveler, looks like he can tell a story too. Now that is a logo, he says. Owl says it is iconic, possibly a fan favourite. Whovians says it's so cool. Problem being, hi mate, says looks like they copied my diamond logo animation. You know what? Problem Being's animation that he put out, which has got to be around a year ago, to promote the idea that Michael Sheen could be the next Doctor, wasn't a million miles away from this. Particularly some of the finer details, the trim lines there. Well spotted.
Yeah, but I've just had a thought though. Like that logo it's a classic era, and we've got Tennant back for New Who. So he has, even if you just look at those two aspects, it's a proper connection almost of him going, the logo's for classic era, but I'm bringing back the most popular New Who Doctor.
But
they're
watching though. The thing is though, me and JT know they're watching, so I wouldn't be surprised if they saw, Lee's logo or this on YouTube or that on YouTube, and they all collated from everything they've seen and decided to go this way. You never know. I mean, sometimes Occam's razor, sometimes the simplest answer is the answer, if you know what I mean.
We have gone on a lot about that diamond logo.
Almost as much.
Now you know why, Facebookers. Now you know why we went on about that diamond logo. We were trying to drop a hint. And if you looked at the Type 40 Facebook page, if you're not on there, do join us. I was dropping the diamond logo saying, it wasn't that pretty for ages.
But we were going on about the diamond logo about a year ago, I remember saying it. So before they decided on having the diamond logo. So you never know, Ian might be right.
I am convinced that somebody somewhere showed somebody all those pleas from me to Julie Gardner to come and save Doctor Who. TARDIS Spider says 1 year for this logo, then a new one showing the selling power of the next era. Like I say, look for evolution rather than revolution. Now, I think generally in the chat, people are very, very pleased about this. Got some great comments from people who are obviously experts and people of great distinction and great taste. But not everybody is pleased by this, believe it or not. There are people out there that didn't even recognise it. Came out with all sorts of stuff. I mean, the silliest thing that I saw was that the diamond logo, the Diamond Doctor Who logo, is a rip-off. They've ripped it off from the Paw Patrol.
Yeah, that's right.
From the Paw Patrol logo there. This was a genuine. Of course, this comes from Twitter. Where else could this possibly come from? I love the Paw Patrol logo, and maybe the people at Paw Patrol are Doctor Who fans. It's quite likely they are. Come to think of it, because I've seen that show.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it shows you how the logo of yesteryear inspired a generation that are working now, because at some point they would have seen that, and and you do see it a lot these days, that sort of theme, if you like. So, but that's the impact of 1970s branding design, and well done to Bernard.
Yeah. So it makes a good badge as well. Little badge.
Yeah. Huge.
There was some concern, Ian, that it might not look very good on merchandise. I mean, you do wonder.
Absolute rubbish.
Maybe some of us who are middle-aged and we remember, we know better. But people say it's going to look terrible on merchandise. What? But this logo has such a history of merchandise. It looks amazing on everything. On absolutely everything. And JT, you are the lord of the pre-orders. Your domain is Merchandise Paradise. So did you see those claims that this was
I have seen this. I have seen lots of this, and they come right from actually fans from the Whittaker era. There have been lots of claims of this logo isn't going to look any good at all on merchandise. I really, really have no idea what they are talking about, because as you can see, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this logo looks absolutely stunning in whatever size you can get. I mean, it's just absolutely bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can see that from a distance. So when you're scanning,
there you go. I knew he was going to bring out VHS.
Yeah,
it's unmistakable, and it is a design classic. Makes one moist, but yeah. Well, yeah,
He's still showing
and
them.
the version, well, that version on the Target books, that's not a million miles away from one of the versions in the new style guide. And you look at
Looks good on bags as well.
I got one somewhere.
it looks stunning. It does look stunning just as a key line. There's not many logos that you can do that to and have them still be as distinctive as always. Thank you for that. QVC,
I just want to
still
reassure
available.
people, don't worry about it. It looks fabulous. And look at this Doctor Who magazine I've got here. That's how Doctor Who magazine could possibly be looking again in January.
Oh, awesome. Simon Ashley says the new logo makes me feel excited about Doctor Who again. I hope they use it for Series 14 and going forward. Thanks for that comment, Simon. Simon's watching on YouTube. Got people watching on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Cybermat Strike says Bernard Large logos are classic designs. Yeah, Bernard Large, of course, came up with this logo. It first appeared in 1974, wasn't it? All the way up until 1980. And if you put the two side by side, so that original on-screen logo that we first saw, the Time Warrior, wasn't it, Simon?
Yeah, indeed it was. Yeah, the Time Warrior at the beginning of the final John Pertwee season. And just looking at it on the right there, wouldn't it be wonderful? Oh, I'm getting all dewy-eyed about this now, thinking about if they go back to a kind of a slit scan sort of title sequence.
Who knows?
With the diamonds.
On the right. I'm gonna stake my claim now, so we can come back in several months' time and see whether I was correct. I'm going to say they are going to go for something more akin to the old Tom Baker title sequence that you can see on the right.
We sort of did something like that in 2005, but who knows what they'll do now, and who knows what sort of theme they may use. Or
Dan,
which version of the theme.
Dan, you as a designer, Dan, do you think, because that when was that designed, in the 70s?
1974, yeah.
It was designed in
74.
73.
So Dan, do you think as a designer, do you think that was done by hand? Because that C looks really off. Well,
yes, this was definitely would have been drawn up by hand, probably with mechanical pencils and a rotary pen, all those kind of techniques, old school draftsman techniques, weren't they, Simon? Back then, everything was hand done.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It would have been hand drawn. And in fact, I think there's a feature on one of the DVDs that goes into the creation of the diamond logo. It's on one of the Blu-ray box sets as well, so might be on the first Tom Baker one.
In fact, when you look at the new logo, it's like they actually moved that C to match the hand drawn there, didn't they? So that's really
they've
clever,
freshened it up with what they can do today, and that's why it looks lovely and it's gorgeous. It's not replacing the original version of it. It's what had that logo been with us all this time, it would have morphed into something like that anyway, because the technique has. And I think it's a beautiful homage, and I think they've done very well. Thumbs up.
There's a comment here from Problem Being who says, I think a lot of people are seeing this as a bait and switch. Thanks for that one, mate. I think it depends on what you call a lot. I think if one spends a lot of time on YouTube,
we'll see.
I love YouTube. I can imagine that there are people saying that because there's certain, a pessimist is never disappointed, and that's the culture war has raged and raged and raged, and there's an unwillingness to accept the fact that the culture war is over. They've run out of other people's money to flush down the toilet. And sometimes things are just as simple as they look face value. So I think that that's an incredibly cynical take on it myself. I'm not saying that that's yours, but that would be, if somebody was to come to me and say, this is evidence of a bait and switch, I'd say no. No,
well, we'll see.
This is the owner of an intellectual property desperately. I mean, I can't think of anything that I've seen that's more blatantly a big please come back. That's what I'm seeing with this with this brand, with this comeback. You can notice when you look at the little differences, and I don't think you have to be a designer to notice this, but you look at the little differences in this, the fact that the W and the H on Who, that they don't run into one another anymore. There's that break, there's that key line. This is another thing that makes me think that this will be evolved rather than we're going to get something completely different, because having that break just means it's a lot more versatile. They can break these elements apart and do more things with them, push them in different directions. So that would be what I personally would do. And again, you've got the drop shadows and key lines, and a three-dimensional look. I mean, if you notice on the bottom of the diamond where it's layered, it's three-dimensional. And we could even see this coming apart and coming together on screen in the time vortex. It could look absolutely stunning, the way that the old Stargate credits used to look, but obviously nicer because it's Doctor Who, not something like Stargate.
And also, as well, from a point of view, is when the inevitable exhibitions come along now, you can actually see that as a 3D logo on the wall as you go into the exhibition. Like we used to have in Blackpool and Longley and stuff, but this one, instead of just being a print, it will be 3D, won't it? Or whatever they want to make it. It will light up from inside as well. So it's just beautifully done, and congratulations to the new team for actually thinking about it and not just whapping something out as usual.
We kind of wonder why it took them so long to come to realize finally that that was the best logo across the whole run of Doctor Who.
Because of the diamond. It's just because of the diamond.
Yeah, I know. It just seems so odd that it took them so long to realize this.
They were listening to us.
Yeah,
they were listening to us.
Eric Brady says similar.
I was going to say, we had to explain to somebody on one of the Type 40 pages, because there's lots of them, and we had to explain to somebody because somebody came along and said about the original logo that Bernard Lodge put together, saying that the CGI on it wasn't very good. And we didn't have CGI in 1973.
Bernard was an expert craftsman, and it was all done meticulously using mechanical equipment and old draftsman's techniques, sticky tape and bits of tracing paper and gouache and all those things, all those techniques that people had to be absolute masters to use them as deftly as Bernard did. Derek Brady says, yes, sometimes you have to move forward. To move forward, you have to look back.
This logo is a prime what they have example. To do now is they do have to look back now at what Doctor Who actually is, because it's lost.
And of course, Jack, you're quite right. This is all on the surface, the sugar on the top. The proof of the pudding is in the writing quality. Of course it is. But there is no harm in us reveling in this when there's been so little to celebrate for such an extended period. This is a statement of intent. And I think, it's perfectly reasonable for us on the threshold of the 60th anniversary to get really, really excited about it. Some people are a little bit worried. Of course they are, because it means that this is going to start appearing on merchandise. And a lot of us, I don't know if you've noticed this, Charlotte, but some of us can be a little anally retentive about our merchandise.
I do know the lovely Blu-ray people have had a few worries because they're used to having that logo on the Blu-rays.
Yeah. Well, so let's just put this out there right now.
The Blu-rays are a part work, aren't they? And potentially take years and years to complete. And in fairness, JT, the VHSs, they took years to complete, and they did crossover various brands. The DVDs, I think those, although they didn't change the logos on those, the formats, everything shifted on those spines so regularly, really frustrated people. And so when they started putting the Blu-rays out in 2018, people were infuriated.
These are staying, aren't they? Russell has said that these are staying the way they are.
I don't know if that actually did come from Russell, but again, I can tell you, it is staying. At this point in time, that is going to be staying. But I have seen that the suggestion was a few months ago that they would issue, everything has to be branded with the 60th anniversary logo next year. That's the idea anyway. And what they were suggesting is that those things would come in a paper slipcase with the same illustration from Leon with the 60th anniversary logo, but on the inside is that format. And that was the suggestion.
That is what we call in design. Here you see in the picture that we've got up on screen here on the video edition of the show, you'll see that the case, the hard case that holds the Blu-ray sets, that drops into what we would call, that's a docking station, a docking box, which also contains the same graphic and the same logo. Something like that could be very easily adapted. So the logo on the docking box, which you would see in a retailer, I would probably bring that up so it meets the picture of the Doctor there on the spine, and include the 60th anniversary branding on that and on the front. And then when you take it out of that box, then you've got the logo there that's been in place since 2018 for the people who prefer that too. But we do have a quote here from Russell T Davies. Ian, do you want to see it?
Go on in.
So Russell was asked about this directly on Instagram, and he replied. So somebody said, it's absolutely incredible. So this is in reference to that new logo. However, one question, what happens about the collection box sets? Russell knew exactly what they were talking about. Immediately said the collection logo won't change.
But Dan, right, they can make a little bit more extra money if they just sold the covers with the new logo on it. You know what I mean? No DVD or Blu-rays in it, just the covers.
Nothing
They can
Ian,
make a crap load more money.
Nothing is off the table for next year, Ian. You have to. You have. Well, no. I'm saying nothing is off the table. Everything is possible.
Yeah, because I would buy them. I'd buy it for my Pertweed collection. I would buy it and throw that one away. You
never know what we will be putting onto Merchandise Paradise in the next few months.
Okay. Stick with this channel, everybody. Stick with this channel.
Of course, you
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
You may be wondering what it could look like in an opening credits sequence. We've got a little example here. This is what we could end up seeing. So the TARDIS there,
my God.
And there, as you were saying, Simon, the split screen effect there.
We might get a Shooty winking at us like Sylvester did.
Oh no.
Sarah, you would not believe the fuss that caused back in 1987.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Doctor does not wink at his audience.
Well, if they don't go to the 70s for that, maybe they'll just go full on 80s with the.
That would work. Yeah, I like that.
That's cool.
We could end up with Shooty made out of stars. They're positively beaming at us.
Well, you never know.
The vortex.
Well, he is the sixth in this reboot version, isn't he? Or are we going to call him the first in the next reboot? Oh,
and I just kind of think when I see things like that, it just brings it home to me how badly Doctor Who has lost its way in recent years. It is literally like a train, going around the corner too fast and veering off the tracks. It just lost its way. I think it started with good intentions in 2005 and just got badly lost.
Really? Do you think the Tennant and the Matt Smith era has lost its way?
No. I'm talking after that.
After it.
No, I think it started to go downhill in the Smith era with Moffat because he was doing other things.
Oh, I love Smith.
I'm not saying about Matt. I'm saying about the style of the episodes. You can see it. I started to thinking, oh God. And then when they started to split it because Moffat wanted to do other stuff and thought, no, concentrate on the bloody show and the stories.
What I mean is just the way it's lost touch with what it was supposed to be as a show. Just whether you like it or not, and I know there's lots of people that do even like Jody Whittaker stuff. It's just shifted so fundamentally, so massively from what it was. It's lost that connection with where it came from, and this logo brilliantly brings it back. And so my fingers are firmly crossed.
That's what I'm saying. To justify the use of that iconic. Not just for Doctor Who, but for the BBC and actually for an entire generation or two, because it was there for such a long time. It was there till 1979. It's got to justify whatever comes. Has got to justify the use of that logo. So it has to be a story, and I'm hopeful because he's got over 3 hours in which to tell a proper story, hasn't he? With hopefully some decent cliffhangers in it as well. That would be lovely over 3 nights.
It was literally called Doctor Who in the credits of the last episode.
Was
David Tennant as Doctor Who, it said on the credits. I was like, what? Well, it's a bit weird.
That argument's going to be around forever. Really is.
We're going to come back to this topic in a little while. We're going to be talking not a lot quicker. We're going to be talking about Disney Plus in a little while. I know we've got the deal to get into. We've got the press release, and we've got all the details there from something I think a lot of us, we heard whispers about, but we weren't convinced about. But now that has all come together. It is all true. We're going to be talking about that later on in the show. But for now, it's that time, Ian, where yes, you can heave a sigh. You can heave that sigh of a special kind of relief. And go and top up your glass if you need to. Absolutely. Or just go point Percy at the porclean.
I wish you wouldn't say that. That is so common.
While the rest, I'm very common bloke.
It's not EastEnders.
So you can go and take care of whatever you need to take care of. So top up that glass.
What if you haven't got a Percy?
Everybody's got a figurative.
I always think the Percy thrower, though. It's just not on.
I think the Percy pigs. That's really rough.
Go and get done what you need to get done. Those of you who have more bladder control than certainly myself and Ian, you can sit here and enjoy the Type 40, the regular Type 40 ad break, full of visages from
Where's
times
everybody's
past
tea bag gone?
and faces, familiar faces from the universe of Doctor Who. We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes for more Disney, Doctor Who, and a bit of nostalgia. And that's the wrong.
That's the wrong.
Completely.
It's going so well.
Completely the wrong one. It's this one.
Who is this man? What's happening? Cosmic regeneration. He's in the fifth dimension they call BBC audio and video. There'll always be another time and another planet.
Tons of toast. 2 before the first day at big school, 52 past midnight, 98 over a yawn, 32 forgotten, 12 over tears, 44 over cheers, 9 to say today is a new day. All in one kitchen. Ours. Anchor. Tastes like home.
Oh, there's some right funny goings on in the bedrooms of the aristocracy. What a lot they are. Tumbling the maids, jumping in and out of beds, marrying, divorcing. Read it in the Sun this week. Here. Earl of Kimberley, 5 wives. And the things these lords and ladies are told the Sun. All true. They used to say sex was too good for the working classes. Now Lord Lilford, 5 wives again, says in the Sun they're catching up. There's Viscount John Clockworthy, Talbot, Foster White, Melville Skeffington, once filmed Kim Novak in a near nude. There's the love story of this heiress and her Italian count, the Duchess. Sex for me is a dessert, she says. And this lady, the aristocracy wants something new for kicks. But what? Oh, you must read How the Other Half Loves in the Sun from tomorrow.
Hey, you should be a bus driver! In a Keanu Reeves film. I mean, how fast were you going back there? Hello? Hello? I said, how fast were you going? Back there. Bit of speed impresses the girls, see? Because he's a bit of a lady killer, is that David? What a tragic waste of a decent motor.
That was cheery.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, it's Halloween, I guess.
Yes, he didn't do many commercials, Christopher Eccleston, but the ones that he did do were all like that. Public information film, really grim stuff. Yeah, there'll be another one coming up very, very soon. But yes, you've guessed it. You got a bit of a tease there. But that was a spot the deliberate mistake we gave you then before the ad break, because Simon Horton's back. Here he is, and we couldn't be happier. And because Simon's back, it does mean that he brings with him the time-honoured tome that we call the Doctor Who Diary, and it's time to dip into that with our good friend and warm our cockles on the simple glow of times past. Looking forward to this one, Simon.
Well, yes, welcome aboard, folks. The TARDIS is landing yet again in the diary land. We haven't done one of these for so long. So anyway, the first thing to say is, as I always say at this time of year, it's autumn. This is when Doctor Who traditionally would come back. Yeah. And so yes. We're celebrating. There were 17 episodes that were premiering this week in years gone by. And I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. There's some fun ones here. The Myth Makers Part 3. Now the Myth Makers, of course, has recently come back into the fore because we've been talking about Maureen O'Brien coming back because of...
because the box set.
Yeah, absolutely, because of the box set. So it's lovely to talk about Maureen O'Brien. Myth Makers Part 3. 10th Planet Part 4 was broadcasting this week in 1966. We were saying goodbye to the first ever Doctor. And
the episode we all want back. Damn you, Blue Peter.
And of course, beautifully reminiscent of the fact that we saw William Hartnell, well, at least we saw David Bradley doing a kind of a dodgy impression of William Hartnell, in my opinion, on Sunday. But anyway, 10th Planet Part 4 was airing in 66. The Abominable Snowman which has recently been released on Blu-ray as animation form. That was back in 1967 this week. Now, here's one for you, Dan. Pyramids of Mars, episode 1, was broadcasting in 1975. Maybe we should talk about Pyramids of Mars, episode 2, in next week's diary, because that's got your scariest moment of all time in when the...
Not just my scariest moment, but yeah, actually, I'll save it for next week. Yeah, let's do that next week.
Let's do that. Right, now here's mine. This is my pick of the week. Deadly Assassin, episode 1 was broadcasting in 1976. Who didn't love the Deadly Assassin episode 1?
Awesome story.
Anybody on the panel? Has anybody here, Sarah and Charlotte, have you seen Deadly Assassin yet?
I have seen it.
Not completely.
Whoa. Have you seen episode 1, Charlotte?
I think I've seen like some of episode 1.
What do you mean you think you've seen some of episode 1?
There's so much Tom Baker stuff, isn't there? I suppose.
I just think it's one of the single best Doctor Who episodes of all time, The Deadly Assassin Part 1, and a brilliant cliffhanger. It's Halloween this week, and so Image of the Fendal episode 1 was also on air in this week in 1970.
I really like that as well. I love that too.
Probably the closest we ever got to a Halloween story, I think, Image of the Fendal. Although here's another contender, the Stones of Blood episode 1 was also broadcasting in 1978. Great Halloween episode. Creature from the Pit was
Walton, come on.
Began its epic broadcast in 1979. I've just finished watching Creature from the Pit in the season 17 box set. It doesn't get any better with time. Time has not improved.
I like it. I've got a soft spot.
So do I, Sarah.
I do as well, Sarah.
What is there to like?
Too.
It's just fun. It's showing another side to Doctor Who. That's just fun, you know. And it was
Also-
1979. Come on.
Also, I remember first seeing that, I was sure that I could see through Lala Ward's top. But I was,
Come on.
That's why
nasty
Dad
boy.
likes it, folks.
did I say that out loud?
I did a reading of it, Simon. I was a duster and I had the turban and everything.
Brilliant. We need a photo of that, Sarah. We need a photo. Have you got photos? We need
Not to
them.
hand. I'll see if I can find one. I bet Retro Doc's got one.
And our final Tom Baker episode for this week was Full Circle. Began broadcast in 1980. I love Full Circle. Brilliant. Mind Warp episode 4, or Trial of a Time Lord Part 8, was broadcasting in 86, and we said goodbye to Perry. Oh, I can still remember that.
That was so dramatic.
I know.
Yeah. I kept trying to see through her tops and all.
I remember that so
Better
clearly,
move on.
like it was yesterday. Now things start to go downhill a bit. Paradise Towers, episode 4, ground to a halt in 1987. And this was the point I was losing my way with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Same here.
Remembrance of the Daleks Part 4, though, was in 1988. Now
that
that's
makes
a good
up for
one.
it.
Awesome.
That is a good
I
one.
like Paradise. I think it's a nice story. I think it's a good,
Daleks.
it's a solid story.
Do you? What is it you like about it, JT?
I think it's another one of those. It's like Bob's Nightmare on Eden. If it was done today, it would be understood more. And because you wouldn't film it, bless, in a studio, you would go out, wouldn't you?
That's the main problem with it, the production values.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know the situation at the time, but if you were to do that and you were to do it outside, but I think the script, is solid, and I think it could be quite scary with different creatures, and that whole thing about the cannibal thing played into it more.
Yeah, that would.
And as bad as Richard Bryars is in that, Clive Merrison is fantastic in it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I always like the Target novel as well. I thought the Target novel expanded more on the actual ideas. So if you haven't read the Target novel and you can find it,
I think, if anything, Paradise Towers suffers from the sort of same fate as Creature from the Pit does. Again, the fault of that is the production values. It isn't necessarily the story; it's the production values. Anyway, here's another good one actually for Halloween. The Curse of Fenric was kicking off in 1989 this week. That's a good Halloween one. That's probably my favourite Sylvester McCoy story.
It is very creepy considering it was all shot on video on location as well.
Looks like EastEnders.
Yes, it does a little, yeah.
And now this is where it really falls off a cliff for me. I'm sorry, folks. In the Forest of the Night was in 2014.
It did have potential. I think it was for them where it sounded better on
That's
paper.
something.
We've got a review of that coming up on the podcast as well. We get stuck into that with. I think we had Wendy on that show. That's a fun one.
It's such a forgettable story, as much of that era is. I mean, I've forgotten that until you mentioned it. Awful, terrible.
Me too. I can remember nothing about it other than there was there a forest growing in the middle of London?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's all I remember. Yeah.
Irritating kids as well. Remember that?
Yeah.
I like the little girl. I liked how Capaldi worked with the little girl.
Yeah. Let's just get all the kids into the TARDIS, and show them something they should never see. Yeah, why not?
Don't remember that at all.
Yeah, coming to Type 40 Doctor Who podcast full review of In the Forest of the Night.
Ultimately, for this week in years gone by, again, I'm way off on this one. The Woman Who Lived from 2015. Can't remember a thing about it.
that had what's her name from Game of Thrones in it.
Oh, that had Lion
Oh,
in it.
right.
What's the name? I can't remember the girl's name. What?
Maisie
Williams.
something, isn't she?
Maisie Big Head. She had a big head.
She has got a big old head. He's right. She looks like Frank Sidebottom's daughter.
Was it the character that had a weird name like she?
Maisie Williams. There you go. Vanessa's just said Maisie Williams.
It wasn't.
What was the part she played? Wasn't it I or something?
Her name was Me, a Shilda.
Shilda.
Wasn't she from the past and she ended up in the future for some bizarre reason?
Well,
no. And she blames the Doctor for
because the Doctor made her immortal.
Immortal, yeah.
Did he? All right.
Okay.
Why would he do that? Anyway, that's another show.
And,
No idea.
And finally, really digging to the very bottom of the barrel, our final one for this week and years gone by, 2018 arachnids in the UK.
Why did you have to go and do that?
And that was the point that I stopped watching Doctor Who. Seriously, that was it. That was the point. Yes, thank you, Chris, for that.
Yeah, and can I just say, right?
Same here.
People in Sheffield do not hoard rubbish, all right? You don't know what kind of nutcase.
Yes, you do.
Also, remember that episode? They left a spider in one of the houses, one of those giant spiders. What the hell?
Yeah.
That episode, however, even though I've never seen it, I am aware of it, and that episode will go down in Doctor Who history as the episode that switched the United Kingdom public off once and for all.
Me too.
Yeah, we all sort of did. Well, we all did this, didn't we? We all did that. Yeah.
No, I did.
Yeah, not just the UK, the Americans. It wasn't very kind to them either.
So it's probably a great Halloween episode, but probably for all the wrong reasons.
Scared the life out of me, mate. Scared the life out of me.
There was one good bit, Simon, where Ryan was so bored in the laboratory, you can see him doing shadow puppets.
Well, that's something to look out for, isn't it? That's the highlight.
Depends what he was using.
Don't want to know,
JT. I was going to say, is that a blooper or actually in the show?
No, it's in the show.
But anyway, moving on. As I said at the top of the show, bow ties are definitely cool, and that's today we are celebrating. Tomorrow, 40 years.
Oh, fantastic!
Happy birthday!
And it's still
happy birthday.
We will be 40 tomorrow.
Bless his heart.
A few little facts about Matt Smith. Matthew Robert Smith is his full name, which I always think is fabulous. The fact that he was Robert Smith, as in The Cure. That's all.
The Cure with Rob Smith, yeah.
He grew up in Northampton, which is not a million miles away from you and me, Dan.
No.
And probably not actually from Sarah's. It's going up your neck of the woods, isn't it, Northampton? Wanted to be a footballer originally, bless him, but a back injury prevented that. He went to Northampton School for Boys and apparently was mocked for having a face with elbows. I still don't actually know what on earth that means. I don't know whether it's reference to his ears or the fact he's got long arms.
His jaw, I think. Yeah.
It's the jaw, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
A very strong jawline, but that's helped him, I think.
Do you know, it's funny. Yeah. IMDb actually highlights the fact that one of his selling points is his strong jawline.
Yeah, definitely. It really is. In a theatre, if he was on stage, you'd know he was there.
So he became the Doctor at 27, which made him the youngest actor to play the Doctor. He was 3 years younger than Peter Davison when Davison had taken over, and he was actually the first person to be born, the first Doctor actor to be born after the death of first Doctor William Hartnell. So there's a little fun fact for if ever you're down the pub quiz. And he did 44 episodes over 3 years, beginning, of course, with the 11th Hour in 2010.
Love the 11th Hour. I love the 11th Hour.
Do you know, it's really funny, Ian. I hadn't noticed until I started to put this together. Call me thick that I'd never twigged that it's the 11th Hour and it's the 11th Doctor.
Yeah. Well, that's that was the reason why.
I never twigged it.
I love Matt Smith. Matt Smith's fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway, of course, Matt Smith has also got a massive CV on IMDb, beginning with the Ruby and the Smoke. That was his debut.
With Billy Piper.
Opposite, of course, Billy Piper in 2006, and those were the clips, of course, that they used when he was cast as the Doctor, because it had been pretty much the only thing he'd been in, really, to a large extent up until that point. Christopher and His Kind, of course, back Christopher Isherwood, very, very renowned. I think he won awards, actually, for that, or was certainly nominated.
Yeah, I think so.
Last Night in Soho, which I actually saw him in recently, which is an excellent film. If anybody hasn't seen Last Night in Soho yet, I heartily...
Yeah, great movie. I've been meaning to see that. I think I've got it upstairs. I've had it for a long time.
It's a knockout. It's a knockout film, so well worth watching. And he's also, of course, hit Hollywood in recent years. He's one of the only Doctor actors actually to make the transition with things like Morbius, Terminator Genesis, and of course now he's in the Game of Thrones spin-off House of the Dragon.
I just like to say that Matt Smith, right? He's the only person to play the Doctor that never copied the one before him. I know a lot of them didn't do that, but you just look at Jodie; she tried to copy everyone, didn't she? And Matt just he just left David aside and became the flappy arms and the hair.
Oh, he definitely did. Yeah. He definitely did his own thing.
I love him; he's great.
And
he's got such a way with people as well, hasn't he? There's something about the guy that's very. He just seems very approachable, Charlotte.
He's just so humble. Like, even though he is getting quite big now, and like he's in these big American productions, he's still just He's got that air of you'd meet him in the pub, like you just would come across him. And I think Matt also brought that to his Doctor. His Doctor was very sort of quiet and relatable in moments.
Yeah, in one of the interviews,
I think that's Matt's personality.
In one of the interviews, they said, "Would you rather play? Was it Doctor Who or something else?" And he said, "Doctor Who is the best role he's ever played." Plus, he has this connection with kids as well. There's something about him that connects with kids.
Well,
it's really
that's
really
the thing,
good.
though. Doctor Who launched him because I can remember I watched him in Ruby and the Smoke because I read those books when I was a kid, so I watched it anyway. And he had a very small part in that. It was like a supporting character at best. So Doctor Who was the thing that got a whole generation like me and sort of others who connected to him and now just adore him. So he's got a lot to be thankful for. Rightfully so, because he did so well.
I think he would have made it to an extent anyway, because I remember seeing him in that lawyer politician thing that was on directly before Doctor Who.
Party Animals.
Was absolutely fabulous. I loved that show, and I was gutted that because he got the role of the Doctor, they scrapped series 2 because it left on a sort of ending where I was like, okay, what happens next? And then you don't know. But he was brilliant in that as well, and that was just, oh man, if you haven't seen Party Animals, I don't know if it's available anywhere, but go and try and find it because he's just brilliant in it.
You can't help thinking when you see that photo, I think it's probably fair to say that Matt Smith is probably the coolest person ever to play the part of the Doctor. You know what I mean? I
think Tom Baker was cool.
No, he's not. He's not got anything next to him. He is a cool
Tom was eccentric. Matt Smith is cool. Yeah,
I think Pertwee was cool, but a different kind of cool.
Yes, he was.
Matt Smith is effortlessly cool. This man can look. I mean, most of the time he does wander around, just as we see him now on screen, in a t-shirt that he looks like he's been wearing that shirt for 3 or 4 days. He's not got anything in his hair. He looks barely awake, and yet he can just switch it on immediately and bring out smiles in people. There's just something about the man.
He's great. He was great as the Doctor. He's a good actor as well. You know, I only saw one episode of House of Dragon because I'm not really into that, but I saw him in House of Dragon and he blew me away performance-wise, and he's great as the Doctor, and looks like he's a great person as well, because I don't know anyone that's met him that said he told him to screw off or anything like that. He's always approachable, and he just seems like a nice guy. So, man, happy birthday. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and also Russell.
And sadly, there are no Matt episodes, particularly in this week at all. No Matt episodes screened in the past in this week. So we can't talk about a Matt episode. What we can talk about briefly is it's 12 years since Death to the Doctor, which was shown in 2010, and of course saw the
crossover
with Matt Smith popped into the Sarah Jane Adventures, and so it's rather nice that actually this was screened in his birthday back in 2010. So thank goodness we have got something that we can talk about with Matt Smith. This was from series 4, and it was actually the only time that Russell T Davies actually wrote for the 11th Doctor for television. It was his only 11th Doctor script from Russell, and of course it was the bless her. There we are seeing beautiful Liz Sladen there on the right. This was the very last on-screen adventure for Sarah and the Doctor together. We would see no more of these, and of course it was the first time that Joe Grant, by now Joe Jones, had been seen on screen since 1973, 37 years previously.
I couldn't quite believe I was watching this when it went out, particularly on children's BBC.
It's a great episode, Dan. It's a really good episode. Yeah. That scene where he talks to Joe, when Joe says, "You abandoned me," and he sits down, he talks about he was looking at her do this and that, the other. Honestly, it's so moving, that bit. Yeah, so it's a really good episode.
If anything, sadly, the silly alien monsters are the only things that actually get in the way. Well, I just can't help thinking it would have been nice to have almost a more simplistic, down-to-earth story, covering the kind of stuff that Ian is just talking about. They're focusing on more character stuff rather than silly aliens. But at the end of the day, it's a kids' show, so you know.
I like the vultures because the vultures looking after the dead. I thought that was a great thing to do.
Yeah,
a real Russell
nice.
I loved it.
It's clever.
Fabulous.
What we really want, Simon, I think that generally, I think when we see those characters come together like that, what we really want, particularly as adults, is we kind of wish it had been an episode of Doctor Who and not the Sarah Jane Adventures, even though the Sarah Jane Adventures was a quality show.
It's the same thing.
But what's rather nice about this just really brings us sort of full circle, because of course what was shown on Sunday was a load of the Doctor's companions all coming back together again. So it's just perfectly timed. Actually, it fits really neatly in with what happened on Sunday. Quick rundown: you do get a rundown in Death to the Doctor of some of the companions. Up until that point, Liz Shaw apparently is working on the unit Moonbase. Of course she is. I love that. That's brilliant from Russell that he came up with that. The Brigadier is stranded in Peru. Of course he is. It's just
of course he was. Of course he was.
Tegan, we understand, is fighting for Aboriginal rights. Ben and Polly are running an orphanage in India. You know, these are it's just beautifully done. Harry, bless him, Harry Sullivan, working with vaccines, has saved thousands of lives, we're told.
It's implied that he's passed on as well, because she talks in the past about. It's implied he's passed on because she talks in the past about Harry.
It absolutely is implied. And Ian and Barbara are professors at Cambridge, and Ace, who we got to see on Sunday again. It's just brilliant. Raised billions of pounds, we're told, through her charity, A Charitable Earth. See what they did there, and so it's just lovely that. There we are. We saw Tegan, we saw Ace on Sunday, so it just fits beautifully in with the fact that Death to the Doctor, both episodes were shown exactly 12 years ago in 2010.
And it's funny how much of that has stuck, stuck with the fandom.
12 years.
Stuck
12. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh God. I need to regenerate.
And as I say, that's Matt Smith. So you know, we raise a Matt.
Definitely, mate.
Happy birthday,
Matt. Yeah. Come on our show, Matt.
One in a million. And thank you for putting the diary together as well, Simon. It's delightful to have you back and have it back. There'll be more from the diary, of course,
as we
head up towards Christmas.
I was away for ages. You just didn't miss me, JT. You didn't miss me.
I didn't realise you were off.
Cheers again, Simon. Let's head back to the main console room and back to 2022. But yeah, that's it for now. If you enjoyed that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell so you get all the notifications about what we're doing next. Could be a live stream show like this, one of our weekly magazine shows, full of nostalgia and mirth and news and nonsense and all sorts of other stuff. Or it could be the podcast itself and various other bits and bobs we've got coming at you. One of our segment shows. We do chop some of these things up and fire them across YouTube and across the internet to tempt you in, don't we? Tempt you in with our precious things and these wonderful gold leaf pages from the Doctor Who Diary. But yeah, cheers, Simon, and thanks everybody out there for liking and subscribing and sharing. Yeah, back to the present day, back to the exciting last few days that we've had here in the Doctor Who universe. It got to the point where I was wondering, Ian, what next? What next? How much more can I take? Now, we were talking a little while ago about the brand new Doctor Who logo, the new old logo. Lots of people in the chat were saying how much they loved it, and is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? Asking questions that we haven't got the answers to. Of course we haven't. But within an hour or two of that appearing across all the BBC social medias, it became very obvious something else was going on over in New York. That Ncuti Gatwa was there with the TARDIS, and they were all sitting down to a corporate do. Basically, the thing was effectively being relaunched. The entirety of Doctor Who was being relaunched on a global scale just a couple of days after the previous era had wrapped up. And this is the image that very quickly started to make its way across the world. On top of all of that, we see not just the BBC logo there at the top, that pretty nasty little BBC logo. I don't like that upgrade. So we've got that there too. We've got that brand new diamond Doctor Who logo there with its beautiful blue and that sort of golden trim there. But also at the bottom, we see the logo of Disney Plus. Now, we heard rumours of this a little while ago, that Disney Plus could be getting involved with Doctor Who, as have HBO Max have been involved in the past, and BBC America, and very successfully Netflix around 10 years ago. But Disney Plus is still a relatively new kid on the block, but obviously hugely successful. The Disney Corporation, they own practically everything. But Disney Plus, just in case you're wondering, what exactly is that? It's a subscription video on-demand streaming platform that's operated as a division of the Walt Disney Company. It launched back in 2019, but it didn't launch globally at the same time. So it didn't make its way to Great Britain until a couple of years later. I think, was it with the first series of The Mandalorian? Something like that. But with this image, we do get the confirmation that the BBC and Disney branded television, so these two giants the press release builds it as. I don't know if do the BBC class as international giants anymore? I'm not sure they do. But two giants of entertainment have come together to transform Doctor Who into a global franchise for UK audiences and the rest of the world. This is really big talk, isn't it, JT? And we did hear, we're aware of the ambitions that Russell had for this, but I think this is it's certainly bigger than I could have guessed.
It's huge. And from a business point of view, it's incredible, because you've got BBC Studios, not the BBC. You've got BBC Studios in there. You've got Bad Wolf. Sony is somewhere involved with Bad Wolf along the way. And now you've got the Disney Plus in the distribution side of stuff. That's an amazing partnership. And it's actually something that, from a business point of view, is very exciting, and that they should be very proud of. That must have taken a lot of hard work, a lot of negotiation, a lot of brick walls, a lot of closed doors. And what has obviously gone in is that Russell's gone in and sold his vision of the Whoniverse that we've been talking about for over a year, what could happen, what's going to come. And this is the ideal start for them to start saying, right, here's your main show, Doctor Who, but we want this, and we want this, and we want this, and we want this, and we want this. And over the next few years, I think, especially as Ncuti's run starts from Christmas 2023, I think we're going to be seeing an explosion of amazing little offshoots from this, with Doctor Who always being the main show. It's an amazing business deal. And congratulations to everybody involved with it for pulling it off, because good God, those organizations working together would have been very difficult to do.
These things, they don't come together overnight on a whim, do they, JT? It would have taken extensive negotiations, probably for much of the last year. If you think about how the TV movie came together so painfully over such a long period of time. But I suppose the crux of it for viewers of Doctor Who is simply that new episodes of our favourite show will premiere on the BBC and Disney Plus, just as you said, so beginning in late 2023. They're still going to be produced in Wales by Bad Wolf Studios in cooperation with BBC Studios Production. So that's still the setup. That hasn't changed. And Sony is still in the equation too, aren't they? So it does seem there's a lot of big names attached to Doctor Who all of a sudden, and that could worry some people, couldn't it? Which I suppose is understandable. But the quotes that we're seeing, we've got various quotes here, as you would expect from a press release. There's people from Disney saying stuff. Russell says a few things, but so do Bad Wolf, and they're very, very explicit in saying, this is still going to be Welsh made. We're still going to be supporting Welsh business. We want to expand this the facility and to become more global, more international. I love ambitious talk like this, and I think to put Doctor Who in the middle of it, which it was obvious as soon as they acquired it at Bad Wolf what they intended on doing with it, but Sony and Disney, it's absolutely huge. What do you think about this, Simon? Because this is our little tea time show, isn't it? And this logo in particular, this is associated with something that's so quaint, and yet here it is attached to something like Disney. Did you ever think you'd see this?
Well, no, I never thought I'd see it. Well, no, I probably did think I'd see it actually, because Disney are kind of mopping up everything, aren't they? I do find it worrying from the point of view of, is this kind of a backdoor way in for Disney to be able to get some sort of hold on the show in some way? I don't know. All I know is that Disney just killed Star Wars for me. And so am I happy to see them associated with Doctor Who? No, I'm so distraught at what they did.
To be fair, though, with Star Wars, that was a change. That wasn't. I won't say that Disney weren't involved, but that was a change of the guard at Lucasfilm itself too, wasn't it? Within the culture at Lucasfilm, which was aligned with what Disney were doing. I think this is a lot. Even though they're working together, we're getting explicit statements that it's still this is something that is mutually beneficial rather than one thing sort of sucking up another.
What this looks like at the moment is this purely distribution. They've gone out of their way this week to make sure that we understand that Disney Plus is purely distribution out of the United Kingdom. And when it comes to these statements, I've seen this on social media this week where people are concerned that they share the same creative vision. I think that's more about the platform for Russell's Whoniverse. And all the elements that will come from it, and that's a creative vision. And if they've bought into that to be able to say, well, actually, we can help you with that, and we can broadcast that with you out of the United Kingdom, that's where I think that's going to come in. But there's a lot of scope that can be done with a partnership which is so strong like this.
We do have word here from the Telegraph. The Daily Telegraph have been speaking about this, and they say that the BBC retain all editorial control of future series of Doctor Who. So the tone and the content cannot and will not deviate from the canon of Doctor Who. It never stopped them when Chris Chibnall was running the bleeding show. So it will not deviate from the canon of Doctor Who. The broadcaster also retains rights to the intellectual property.
Of course,
so Disney will be unable to produce spin-offs or other material based on the property. They're explicitly saying that.
We said this when we talked about the Bad Wolf and BBC Studios version of Doctor Who. We said that this Doctor Who is still, even though it's just gone through a rough patch, Doctor Who is still a major property for the BBC. They are not going to get rid of that property, because they could say in 5 or 6 years' time, well, that didn't work. Who should we work with now? Just like they did in 95 into 96, just like they've done now. It's theirs. They are never going to let anybody be able to take rights away from their merchandise or rights away from their intellectual property, because it's money for them and it's business. I'm afraid now it's all about the pennies, the grotsits. It's all about that sort of stuff. It's getting the right deal to make it global so that they get more money coming in, which hopefully this time in the setup will be invested in the show.
James A. Fitzpatrick says, it all sounds nice, but Disney won't be able to resist. There'll be lawyers all over this, James. This won't have been decided just on a gentleman's handshake. And I've also got one more piece of information here. We have to make this clear. It is not just a streaming rights thing, but it is a co-production deal. But the BBC have clearly, well, more likely Bad Wolf and Sony have clearly got Disney in their place. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. We still control X, Y. Even if you've got Z, even if you've got the streaming rights, and somebody had to have the streaming rights. This is 2022.
Absolutely.
There's only so many games in town. You either go to, Netflix had this before. It did very, very well at Netflix. HBO have had it for a little while, and HBO Max was sucked up by something else, which was then sucked up by something else. It's all in disarray over there. So realistically, Disney. I mean, we've got people in the chat saying, they're the wokest corporation on the planet. Disney have done this and this and that and the other. This big evil corporation. But I think we're at a stage now, Charlotte, where all of these places, Netflix, Amazon, and Disney, we could look at them all as big evil corporations. So which one of these huge evil corporations? The BBC's one. It's a question of which one do you want it to go with? But it's got to go with one of them, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, and we knew it wasn't doing well on HBO Max. We could see it wasn't visible. We could see they weren't promoting it at HBO, so the interest wasn't there. Disney obviously have an interest as what this could be, and that's the vibe I'm getting. I watched a bit of the thing at New York, and the language was all about ambition and making this global and getting more audience. That's good for the show, because I think Russell, if there's one thing I'm getting already off Russell, it's that he's not got small ideas. He's got these really big ideas, and he needs money. He needs people behind him who are going to help him achieve that. And I think also off Ncuti, the Q&A video he did, he made a point in that to say the TARDIS can go anywhere. And it should, and it will, I think was the wording he used as well. It will go anywhere. And we've all said this, like the show, we've all wanted it to sort of have to do those stories that you need a lot of tech maybe, or a lot of money or stuff just to realise these really ambitious ideas that the show has always had in its nature, but it could never quite pull off when it was just a BBC. So I see it as it's just going to help creativity. It's going to help them not have as many barriers possibly for what stories they could want to tell with Ncuti and David. So I see it as a positive.
I agree with you, Charlotte, and it is all about bringing this Whoniverse in. We are going to be looking at spin-offs now. I mean, Russell's already shown he can do that. At one point, you had Doctor Who, you had Sarah Jane Adventures, and you had Torchwood. That wasn't sustained by the team that came after him for whatever reasons, and that's such a shame. But he's shown he can do it. He's shown that. He's also said in the past as well, he doesn't understand why the BBC didn't continue that. That's where we're going. We're going to have brand new characters coming in from Ncuti's time onwards, I would imagine, which will all be set up purposely to do a spin-off there, spin-off there. There's going to be an animation there. You know, all these little things. And if you have a 5-year plan, which is usual in a business plan to have 5 years, you're going to want a partner that's going to be able to support and sustain you and not be taken over by somebody else and then get rid of you. You know, you're going to have a platform that's going to be absolutely consistent throughout that plan. And Disney was, to be honest, probably one of the better ones you've got there. Yes, they could have, and they may have negotiated with Netflix, but Netflix would have also still wanted their say just as much as
Disney Plus are the most stable, I'd say. Amazon, well, you could argue that Amazon, but Netflix is not in a stable place at all. It seems to be going down. I don't think it's going
back up
down
recently,
hard
hasn't it, slightly?
I don't know. Tony L is here in the chat and asks, will the series still be shown on BBC America? Absolutely not, Tony. BBC America are completely out of the equation. In fact, BBC America, that could well be going down. As I understand it from people, Kyle Wagner, who works on the podcast, what I understand about BBC America, all they show at the moment is repeats of Star Trek. It's
looks on its way out, isn't it? It's not profitable.
Is about to disappear. Pure Historical says, folks here in Oz, hiya mate, are far more upset about it leaving the ABC than anything else, because of course this is international streaming, so this is absolutely everywhere. It was essential for Bad Wolf to go somewhere that could give them the continuity, that could give them that identify. This is the place to go. As many places that people are going to be looking to find Doctor Who, it is ideal that they go to the same place, that we all go to the same place, because that's what it's like in the 21st century. You know where to find Stranger Things. You find it on Netflix. So I understand why they've done this. Yeah. But I do understand what Pure Historical says here. And you were talking about that earlier on. You've been speaking to some Australian viewers too, haven't you, Sarah? What did they say?
Yeah, well, there was a really good article. And yeah, it kind of just feels like end of an era, because it's always been on there. I think it was on there from the mid-60s.
Yeah, right from the beginning. Yeah.
And there's a real sense of loss. And, you know, I love, the Australian Doctor Who fans are some of the most loyal, you could ever get. So it is sad. It is that times are changing, but they have to change. We have to evolve.
I agree.
Otherwise, it will get lost.
It's not as if Disney Plus isn't a thing in Australia. It's got a presence there. It's got a presence in Britain. I know it rolled out different times all over the world. Problem being, asks, isn't Sony's money enough? It's not necessarily about the money as I see it, mate. Sony hasn't got a streaming platform. They want to get this on as many televisions, in as many family homes as they possibly can, as easy as they possibly can. Java Bean says, make no mistake, Doctor Who is Disney's bitch now. Do you see it this way, Ian?
I disagree.
I'm with Simon. I don't know what to think about this. The BBC has an agenda. Disney has an agenda. It just,
everyone's
to me, it just, I don't know. We'll see.
Not the BBC, though, Ian.
Yeah.
Don't forget, it's studios, not the BBC.
Yeah, I know, right? But I'm optimistic about the future for Doctor Who. My fingers are crossed. But just like Simon, if they go in a direction that I don't like, I'm out. So, but I'm hoping.
That's fair enough. But don't forget, it is just for distribution out of the United Kingdom. They are still filming it in Wales. They're still filming it in the United Kingdom. There's still, the production office is in Cardiff. Still, it's within Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
This is still that
on BBC One.
It's still going to be on BBC One. It's still going to be on the iPlayer. It's still going to be in. So nothing changes for us here, and that shows me that actually that's not going to change. I mean, they've just done the first 3 episodes. They've just done that, so they're going to continue that, aren't they?
Fingers crossed. That nothing bad happens to it. That it just retains Doctor Who-ish shows as it goes.
That's going to be down to the writing, and then it's going to be down to the production of it as well. But that mini trailer we had the other day screamed Doctor Who to me.
James speculates in the chat on YouTube. I wouldn't be surprised if making that deal with Sony was what got Disney's interest. I mean, I think it would have made them think they mean business, Charlotte. This is a global thing.
I think we've got to remember though, the Sony angle is purely Bad Wolf. Sony didn't make a deal for Doctor Who.
Yeah.
They made a deal for the production house. So Sony they are part of the equation, but I would argue they're not a direct part. They're just funding the studio that's making the show.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Charlotte. Yeah.
When you look at this figure here, Simon, from Raymond Williams, he explicitly says here, America has a population of 370 million plus. Every time I see that figure, I think, what? I always have to rub my eyes.
Amazing, isn't it?
370 million plus.
Really?
And Doctor Who has an audience of less than 200,000. That's going to change big time. So this is a way of expanding the audience in the biggest of territories, isn't it?
It's huge because the kids all go to Disney Plus because you've got all those age ranges, haven't you?
I was literally about to say that, JT. Yeah, they're aiming for the kids, for the families. Aiming for the kids, get the merch back, get the toys back.
Merchandise.
But you really do wonder. I don't know whether America has always seen Doctor Who as a cult show. It's never been a populist show in the way that it is in the UK. Even back in the glory days when everybody was in America was going mad over Tom Baker, it was still very, very niche, and it always has been. So I'm not certain that Disney will change that drastically. In that, yes, of course, the viewers are going to go up. Of course they are. Whether we'll get to the same kind of figures, the same kind of popularity that the show has in the UK, I don't know.
Well, none of us know because what we've got to do. I mean, when you look at Disney Plus and you look at all those things, you've got the Marvel thing, you've got the Star Wars thing, you've got all their own thing, you've got Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. Love it, Angela Lansbury. Mwah, bless you. I was watching it recently. You've got all those, and then suddenly you're going to have Doctor Who on there, and it means that anybody can watch it at any time outside of the UK whenever they want to. And I think young ones will try it, but it'll be down to the story, won't it, Simon? If they don't have a good story, they're not going to watch it, and that's the importance of the story now. It's got to be a story that can be engaging to everyone, not just the niche, but to everyone, just like proper Doctor Who used to be.
Simon Ashley says it's good news about Disney Plus investment in Doctor Who. Hopefully it will bring it back to where it belongs as one of the best shows in the world. A bold statement, I know, but I truly believe it. And, Simon Ashley is one of our more reserved of viewers here. You're not one. I don't think he's one for fevered excitement. So it's interesting that you feel that way, because there is a lot of resistance too in the live chat. A lot of people really do have their doubts about this.
I'm very wary. That's all I can say. I'm very wary of Disney and what they've done in the past and stuff.
You can't. T Davies has editorial control. Yes.
But you can't avoid what's happened with Disney in the past and stuff like that. So that's why I'm very wary. But like everybody on this panel, I'm hoping that Doctor Who will be back, whether it be, I'm looking forward to Tennant, I'm looking forward to Ncuti. Let's find out what he's going to give us,
Absolutely.
and let's just move, let's just hope for the best. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
We won't notice a difference though, because we're in the Doctor's home. We're in the United Kingdom. We're not going to see any difference at all. And what we will have to do is, just see how it's going with Disney, and then anybody watching the show that's out with our wonderful country, they will let us know how it's getting on out there. But the only thing we're going to get is feedback, because it's not going to affect us in the UK one jot.
Yeah,
we've got a comment here from Glenn Piper. Hi, Glenn.
Yes.
He says, "Do you think we will get any Doctor Who spin-offs?" That has been Russell has been talking about that since long before he came back to this big chair.
Yeah.
That's part of the long-term plan for this. Heaven knows when. I'd say probably sooner rather than later. I'd say we'll probably know by 2024 what they intend on doing and where it's going to go, who will be in it. Yeah, I think it'll be pretty quick.
I think they might introduce us, like Russell did before. I think they might introduce us to certain characters in Ncuti's first series and then say, oh, by the way, she's getting a series, or he's getting a series, or that's getting a series. Yeah. So, Glenn, do you think we'll get any Doctor Who's? But we're all saying yes, but we actually talked about this last year. Julie Gardner registered and then trademarked the term the Whoniverse.
Oh yeah,
yeah, she did.
We did a whole chat about that, but it's been so long ago, I'd forgotten all about it.
Twinkling to bloom, merchandise first of all, and I hope so.
We've got
at the moment,
quote.
It's not worth a thing, unfortunately.
A quote here from Russell T Davies. He says, "I love this show, and this is the best of both worlds, with the vision and joy of the BBC." God, vision of the BBC. Good God, nice one, Russell. Yeah, I'll stay with you. With the vision and joy of the BBC and Disney Plus together, we can launch the TARDIS all around the planet, reaching a new generation of fans whilst keeping our traditional home firmly on the BBC. In the UK, obviously, that would have been every single word of that statement there from Russell T Davies would have been considered. He knows exactly what he's saying, and he's aiming it at people such as us who would have their doubts about this. This all sounds really, really big. It sounds a little bit not like you would expect to see happen with Doctor Who. We've got a quote from Jane Tranter and Julie Gardner. They're the co-founders and exec producers of Bad Wolf. And they say for Doctor Who to have the backing of two of the most innovative and respected media organisations in the world is testament to the unique drive and vision at the heart of this show. Bad Wolf is beyond delighted to be working with the genius that is Russell T Davies and working on this exciting new partnership, producing from Wolf Studios ambitious stories through time and space for audiences across the globe. Every single statement we see here, it talks on quite a small level to people like us, to average people who know the show, but it all mentions global. That's the word that I keep seeing them come back to. The planet, global, the world. It's the same word and the same meaning, just sort of rearranged. This has been carefully considered and carefully pitched as well, JT.
Well, it has, because they understand that they've lost their international fan base to a certain extent, and they're trying to bring everybody back, not just all of us in the UK, but they're trying to bring everybody back. I mean, as I say, this is a hell of a year they've got to get this sorted and get it right, and thank God that they're going to be filming, because the business people behind this project will really have to work hard, because this is the last opportunity they've got. As Ian's already said, if you get this one wrong, then people will stay away from it. So, at the moment, from my point of view, everything's looking very, very optimistic, very healthy, very positive. I mean, even that picture there alone screams Doctor Who for the very obvious reason. That's not his costume, though, folks.
But we've got Ncuti, we've got the TARDIS, we've got the brand new old Doctor Who logo. They're all tuned up. He's there looking very engaged, very happy, meeting people at this big event to launch it in New York. And it does seem... It doesn't seem impossibly big. To me, this seems quite charming, and the fact that they seem to have these personalised menus on the tables, all with that Doctor Who logo on.
Look at the logo there, isn't it gorgeous?
Yeah, it does
beautiful
look
and crisp. And look at the TARDIS there, Sarah. That's the Capaldi TARDIS.
It is indeed.
Scrub, bleach this property, bleach it any trace at all of you know who and the heinous era that's just wrapped up. It's very explicitly clear to me. And Ncuti's been doing guest appearances on TV shows too, Charlotte. He's been on something called The Late Show and all these other things that he's been doing. What's it called?
Do you know
Live Late.
My studio. Was that their studio? With plastic flowers in it. Gorgeous.
Looks like it.
Who are those two? Who are they?
But
that Richard
isn't
and Judy?
Charlotte?
Yeah.
But do you know what I'd love seeing this week? Because it's literally just been a week. It's been amazing to think. Having confidence back in this brand in some way. Having a production team that isn't hiding behind like a wall, not
You're talking about Chibnall?
Yeah. Like it's gone. We've actually got a confident team, and Ncuti's already started doing the promotion, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah. That
even though we have got Tennant back, he's also been promoted, which is the best way to do it. Promote both of the lads. But it's so nice to see a brand again that isn't hiding, that isn't feeble, that's actually confident and is going out and going, look at me. And I love that.
Yeah.
Doctor
I mean,
Who
it's
right
weird,
now.
isn't it, Charlotte, that we are here talking about a TV show that has effectively two leads. So whilst Ncuti's over there in New York, David Tennant is here, sort of fielding questions and taking a little bit of heat and all that kind of thing. It's a strange, a unique situation to find Doctor Who in at the moment, but it seems to be working, doesn't it?
Oh, it is, because from all the stuff I've seen for Ncuti, the video he did, the Q&A, people are just falling in love with him. And they're just seeing this charming young man who's just got energy and charm, and he's just so enthusiastic. And I think a lot of people are already starting to be a bit won over just by Ncuti's personality. And you need that in a doctor.
Look at that smile. He's got that proper Cheshire Cat smile like Tom's got.
But you know what, right? I'm not won over yet. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. But you know, I know I haven't. So I reserve my judgment until I see him.
Have you heard him talk yet, Ian?
You know what? You know the little clip they showed after that trash they showed on Sunday. Ncuti's voice sounded a bit like his natural voice, which is he's Scottish, isn't he?
Yes,
Scottish. Yeah, you can hear the twang in it.
Now that you said that, can I just say to Ncuti there, because I know he's watching. He never misses Type 40 Live here on the Spacebook. I would just like to say congratulations to Ncuti Gatwa for doing what a certain individual couldn't do over several series and deliver a line. The boy can act. Who knew?
You could see he was wearing David Tennant's clothes, isn't he? Because obviously he's regenerated.
That line either. So it's quite. Isn't that shot came out?
It's a striking picture. I think that very first
looks like Eddie Murphy
promo picture.
He looks. Let's just point that out. Actually, because Dan said that to me. He said, "There's a moustache."
Yeah. Looks like Eddie Murphy.
I don't think he particularly looks like Eddie Murphy, but I'm surprised he's keeping the moustache to play the Doctor. I think I'll get used to it.
Eddie Murphy. He looks like.
I'd also like to congratulate him on not insulting fans or inserting any agenda into an interview, and just talking about the role and the show and what stories are coming up. I was like, oh my God. An actual interview.
He was talking like a human being. He sounded very enthusiastic. There was no battle cry. He was. I wouldn't say it was even. It wasn't like he was bland. Even he just seemed like a normal bloke who couldn't wait to get started, to get to work, and to play this character. He seemed to realise what's been. I don't want to say it's been put in his lap, because we've seen that happen. I think he had to. I get the impression he had to fight for this part. We know so little about the audition process. I mean, I am now hearing that Russell and Andy Pryor, they auditioned all kinds of actors. I believe they were all men. I believe.
Yes, I heard that.
But as regards ethnicity, it was wide open. Yeah. And they really did put them through it. And it's right that Ncuti was the very last person they saw. And so I suppose we may find out more as time moves on. They'll be making art books and all sorts of
probably.
things.
Did you hear what he said in an interview? He said that when he was doing that show on Netflix, can't remember what it's called, he said that his parents were still saying to him, you should get a proper job. But then when he got the job at Doctor Who, when he got the job at Doctor Who, that they realised, they were like, oh, so you're a real actor now, are you? Do you know what I mean? So there you go.
Let's just shout out to Ncuti as well, because as is traditional with previous Doctors, apart from a particular one. He was given the tapes by Russell, and he's gone off and done his homework, hasn't he? And he knows certain episodes because he's mentioned it. Yes, okay, mentioned in his little thing this week, the Angels and the Beast from the Satan Pit, but he's obviously watching all of them and assessing who the Doctor is and what the Doctor could be, and he's researching, and that to me also gets him instant respect because he's got what's got us all there.
Do you know what's really important about Ncuti? There we go.
Thank you. Yes,
I am. Yeah, from a 17-year-old to a 900-year-old. It's quite a range.
But explain Doctor Who to those who don't know in America.
He's just got this natural way about him, isn't he? Very likable.
A British institution.
But it's his energy that comes off as well, isn't it?
Alien Time Lords that travels through time.
And you can hear the Scott in there, but there's something else too. He reminds me of Christopher Lambert in Highlander. Paul McGann a little. Paul McGann sounds Liverpudlian.
They can regenerate Highlander any new body.
But you know what, right? What's good about Ncuti is that he talks about Doctor Who, he talks about playing Doctor Who. And Jody didn't do any of that, did she? She never did any of that stuff.
It was very exciting to have.
But she said why as well, didn't she? She said why she couldn't go and do the research.
He knows who the character is because he's gone and done that research.
It's like the biggest deal.
She freaked out.
Right.
She freaked out, Kelly, because it's such a British institution, and as you know, as an immigrant family coming over to the UK, I think it meant a lot for them
at all.
to see me.
He's a bit nervous, which also does him a lot of favours.
It was the first job where she was like, "Oh, you're actually an actor."
He's not even the role. He's very proud of the role.
People were worried about his age as well. Ncuti turned 30 a couple of weeks ago, and I think you can tell this is a grown man. This is somebody who knows what he's doing. This is somebody with an infectious enthusiasm and a natural warmth.
Thank you, Disney Plus, for having us.
Will it evolve?
How tall is he, Dan? Do you know?
Hopefully, yes, it's now accessible to the world.
5'8", 5'9", something like that.
But at home,
not a big bloke,
no changes. It's still
He's very tall, 6'2", 6'3".
But it's now really accessible to the whole world, which is
you're perfect for the role.
I like the fact that Crinkly Doubloon says he has Joe Grant's rings. He does have Joe Grant's rings.
Katie's going to love that when she meets him, isn't she?
Yeah.
They'll swap notes.
I love the Americans. They go, "Oh, you're perfect for the role." They have no clue what Doctor Who is about.
Somebody's just put on the chat there that the voice is important. Who was that? Oh, it's Keith. Keith Bradbury said, "I think the voice is important for the Doctor, especially if you." Yeah, I think that's a knock-on effect from what's just gone on in the reboot version of Who. But remember, he's an actor. And he'll be able to play with voices like Smith did and like Tennant did. Remember, Tennant's got a Scottish accent, but played it English. The only one that hasn't done really is the one that's just gone that we won't really want to talk about, who couldn't be asked, quite frankly. So let's see what he comes up with. But that little clip from the teaser trailer, he's a little bit more precise, isn't he? A little bit more forceful in that. And I know it's out of context, but he's a bit more
Lieutenant.
Yeah, that's what shocked me with that clip, because Ncuti's sort of this lovely, bubbly personality naturally, but in the clip, there's a bit of anger. There's a bit of like intensity. Yeah,
very intense. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I like that because, like I said, that's so different to his natural personality. So to me, that is showing he is playing the part. He's not just being himself. He's he's doing something different, which is what is needed.
I said it immediately after.
In the chat. We've got a comment from Garbage in the chat on YouTube. It says that line that Ncuti said in the trailer. I've no idea if it's a real line or just done for the trailer, but he really did nail that line perfectly.
Absolutely. It was that trailer. I mean, you know, it was that when I got that, I thought, oof, he made such an impact in less than a second. I just thought, I can't. I'm looking forward. I want to know more about this. And I know that's all out of context because we don't know where that comes from. Obviously, it's just after a regeneration or something like that. We don't know. But wow, what an impact he had.
I was just thinking when I know it's only one line, and I'm trying not to read too much into it, but I think he's a very striking looking man. I think there's a lot of energy. There's something contained in there, and people do seem to be generally pretty impressed here in the live chat on YouTube too. He has an engaging smile too, says Vanessa Law. But as ever, you know, we do have it's a mixed bag. Matthew Pounder says he's too camp. See, I don't see any camp in this at all. I really don't.
So am I, Matthew, in a sense. You know, I'm camp on these shows as well, you know. I mean, but what's your point?
Well, it's interesting because one of the things I worried about with him was that he would be too camp. And actually, I have to be honest, he doesn't come across as camp in that particular interview. And I was concerned
Still time
because of all of the other parts that he seemed to have played. It seemed to be very, very camp. I must be honest, I was nervous, but no, I have to be honest, I don't see anything camp.
It's only 1 second though. Come on.
Well, no, in the interview, he doesn't seem particularly camp.
No,
he's not a naturally, so it doesn't seem like a naturally particularly flamboyant. He seems very warm. He doesn't seem to be as physical as David Tennant is, and certainly not as Matt Smith is. I don't think Matt Smith can sit still for three or four seconds, let alone 3 or 4 minutes. But he's just got something about him.
Don't forget what he's doing,
Simon.
The only thing I would say, if anything, that I seem to recognise that he doesn't have is a mercurial quality. And I've always said mercurial quality is just essential for the Doctor, and that's where Jody Whittaker went so catastrophically wrong. And as lovely as he seems, and as bright and as bouncy and as bubbly and as warm as he seems, I don't see anything particularly unknown, unknowable, mercurial.
No, I see what you mean.
No, I find out. That's going to come out in the script, not through his own personal.
Yeah, hopefully, just as Robert Payne says in the chat, he's an actor. It can come out in a performance. I suppose not everybody is naturally like that.
He also knows that he is now actually a brand ambassador, and you can see that from what he's done in New York. He has sold the pants off that show and that brand and what's coming next, because he knows exactly what's happening from next year onwards.
He knows how important.
He's the main character and the main guy of this entire platform, this entire brand. And he's been, in just a few days, an incredible ambassador from a business point of view, where others have arguably lacked.
You're right, JT. Absolutely right. He knows how important. He knows how important this role is, unlike someone I could mention, because just threw it to the wind.
I don't want to keep fixating on her. We are trying to move forward with this, and that everybody in the live chat. We're not going to keep bashing a certain person. We are making every attempt to move on.
That was the
with
last
this
episode,
brand.
wasn't it?
So, but
go ahead.
We've got a comment here from Keith Bradbury in the chat. He's been watching all night, mate. Dropped lots of great comments, but he says he will bring elements of himself and deliver the lines that are written for him. If the lines are good and he's got the ability to deliver, then we'll be amazed. Well, we can hope, can't we? We can hope, and I think that it does instill us a lot of hope. When you think back to the teaser trailer, we're going to look at that in a moment. We've got to say goodnight to you now, though, haven't we, Charlotte? You're about to leave us.
Yeah. So it's been lovely as usual, and see everybody next week.
Bye, Charlotte.
Looking forward to it. Take care. Night. Yeah, so when Ncuti Gatwa appeared in that teaser trailer, that was the biggest shock of all. Now, JT, you didn't watch any of the previous era that we're not going to refer to. You didn't watch that era, did you? But you did watch that teaser trailer. Did you watch it on YouTube in the end?
Oh, well, yeah, because the exciting thing is that I'd forgotten the episode was on, because I have a life and I was doing other things. I knew you guys were coming on at some point as well. But what happened is, of course, that the trailer dropped on YouTube instantly. And I was like, oh, okay, let's have a look at that. And then the regeneration thing came on at the same time. But I went straight to the trailer. And it was just an exciting time again. I felt a vibe I haven't felt in a long time. I'm going to use the word excited. And it was that whole, I mean, how long does that run for? Is it a second? And it screamed Doctor Who to me. It felt, hang on a minute, I'm excited about this. This is Doctor Who coming back for me. I was dead chuffed with it.
It was something like 17
what the hell's
seconds.
going on here? That's the line he said right at the end. And
what the hell's going on here? Yeah,
that's what he said. Yeah.
That was what Ncuti said, yeah. But of course, you were completely right. I think lots of us guessed this, that David Tennant's 14th Doctor, David Tennant is officially the 14th Doctor.
Really?
And Ncuti Gatwa will be the 15th Doctor. But those very first words, because this is a new incarnation of the Doctor. We saw it with our own two eyes, didn't we? We saw it happen. We saw that. We saw the regeneration. We saw the clothes. We talked about this the other night. Those clothes appeared on his body, and
well, that's it's different. I mean, I commented on the show that it's an interfered regeneration. I had a few people asking me what I mean by that. If you listen to it on YouTube, there's an extra sound effect added, like electricity from the old Frankenstein classics. And to me, it suggests that the CT, if we assuming that is him, has had a little hand in what's gone on here. Because the clothes, as we've said before, don't usually change with the regeneration. Let's forget the original thing. You know, so there's something twisty, and that's very Russell as well, isn't it? To say you've got to come back because something's not quite right here.
Can I please check though, because I can't understand this, because everybody on social media all seems to be saying, "Wow, I didn't expect David Tennant's back. What a surprise!"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What? Sorry, why is it a surprise? We've known for months and months."
They don't all watch us
for 3 weeks back in May.
They don't all watch
those photos of them filming around Camden were kicking around for weeks on social media. So everybody's known that David Tennant is coming back. So I'm like, why is it reacting as though it's news?
I think even though it wasn't the newspapers at the time, I think it goes to show how newspaper readership has dropped. I think it goes to show how little attention people have been paying to Doctor Who.
It's all over social media. It's everywhere. Even I don't go on social media, and even I knew about it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, what's come through that, and I've seen this on social media as well, is that they thought some of them have assumed that Tennant was just coming back as a bit part, as he did with the 50th anniversary when he was the Doctor. And I can sort of understand that, but I don't. I mean, we were saying on this show, and why there's no millions and millions of people watching us, we were saying it's on a cliff top that they regenerate. And it's going to be Tennant that comes through at the end of it. So it's just, it is odd, I must admit. But Dan, I think you're right. I think you've hit on something that just shows how even Doctor Who fans of a certain era or a certain age or whatever don't pay attention.
Yeah.
We were right about this. I mean, I was no doubt whatsoever that David Tennant was playing the 14th Doctor, particularly when you look at all the press information that we've had since Ncuti was cast back in May. They've never once said that he was the 14th Doctor. The wording has always been very, very precise. And so when you see David Tennant running around Bristol, Camden Town in that new suit, but specifically, Sarah, when you see him with the TARDIS prop that the previous incumbent in the role is associated with, it said to me that this was continuity. This was happening directly afterwards. So when we see David Tennant there on top of the cliff, I've suggested this to numerous people, other people I've spoken to in the fandom. Yeah, and I've said, he's going to be the 14th Doctor. How? It doesn't matter how. All the information, all the arrows are pointing in one direction. We'll find out how when we watch the damn thing. Sure enough, we got it confirmed.
We got one of them as well.
Introducing David Tennant as the Doctor. Not Doctor Who this time, Ian.
No, it's further down. It's further down on the credits where it says
they've given him the best of both worlds, have they? Because it was Doctor Who back in 2005.
Did you hear this stuff?
Very Russell, isn't it? Because if you look at Russell's series, Parting of the Ways went into the Christmas Invasion. The end of episode 2, Doomsday, went immediately into Voyage. What was it?
Voyage of the Dam.
Runaway Bride. That's right. Yeah. Oh, so the end of series 3 with Martha, that went straight into Voyage of the Damned, and that's the way he does it. And he's gone on record years ago was saying it's continuous. You go bang, that's done. Next one, which I've always quite liked the idea of that. And here he's done it again. He said, right, there you go, leaving you on a cliffhanger for a year, literally.
Yeah. The ultimate cliffhanger.
That's his way.
Teeth, he says. These
it's
teeth.
a lot.
This story about that Bad Wolf's production is so good. The cameras.
Bad
That's
Wolf.
the Bagpuss. Did I realise?
I thought you said Bagpuss.
Yes. So what happened, Sarah, is the filming of the regeneration. They had to effectively re-record and replace and re-render the front end of it, which featured an actress in the part there. They had to effectively remake that because the technology that the BBC had used to film the original regeneration, the first half of it, the cameras were nowhere near up to the spec that Bad Wolf are using now. So they had to effectively go back to it, and remake it and substitute an actor into that role using their actual cameras. In fact, I've got the name of the actor who stood in for that. They had to re-record the regeneration completely using an actor called Jamie Rocky in place of her. And I've got that here. So here he is.
There were months as well. I don't think people understand that. There were absolute months between the Chibnall crew all being released from contract and leaving, and Bad Wolf starting production. for the anniversary episodes. So, I don't think people actually understand that this time, Dan. So it's great that we're pointing it out.
Yes, it's this actor. It's a Welsh actor who's got long hair. And he's got his sleeves rolled up, but that's about it. And there he is with David Tennant there. So
bloody big green room, I tell you that for nothing.
Their studios, Ian.
Yeah,
Studios.
I know.
So Dan, is he's basically playing Jody Whittaker there.
Yes.
Am I right?
They had to go. So that's using Bad Wolf's technology there. They effectively had to go and refilm her half of it so they could map her onto it. So basically she is kind of animated over the top of him, which is why it all looks a little bit uncanny and a bit Disney-fied. Oh God, I've got to watch how you use the word Disney. But it has that kind of it has a really, it doesn't feel real. And it sounds strange thing to say about a fantasy show, but it looks overly rendered and overly corrected. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I've only recently seen these pictures. I think that accounts for probably a lot of that. It's to think that
I was saying that the other night as well. It doesn't quite look right, the Tennant section, does it? And also when you look at
there was a lot more definition in it.
And there really is when you look at the Ncuti section as well, because he's in front of some sort of
green screen. He's on a green screen.
But he's also in front of some sort of skyline as well for shooting. That didn't look, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays on the scene. But also it explains why they've got that box, because they needed it for the regeneration segment.
Yeah, and Kenny Belly effects, and you can tell that he wasn't there and none of them were there, but
But it's still they've done well with what they've had to do, because as we're saying, it's months after that they came in. They've obviously looked at this. We know that they had the final edit on that episode, and they've done well with what they had. So good for them.
Also, it's quite interesting how in the other regenerations, I'm talking about when they blow up, that is, you always see their face change. So from David Tennant to Matt Smith. But they didn't do that with Jodie. Her face was so in flames, obviously, because they used that guy.
Wasn't it? It was the twist as well, Ian, because some of the. I mean, as Simon's pointed out, there were a lot of fans that were expecting Ncuti to step out from the flames. You get David Tennant as well, and you can see that on a lot of the reaction stuff on YouTube. That, especially in America, where they obviously haven't had the information that we've had, and they haven't bothered to watch us. It's a case of like they've all gone. Because that's what's happening. And again, it was playing with the audience.
I was a bit disappointed the way David Tennant looked, though. Yes, he's a man of age now, but they could have at least, or maybe he isn't the other Doctor, I don't know, but his hair looked very... They gave him a weird hairstyle. It's really weird.
New Doctor.
It is a new incarnation of that character. And Matthew Pounder says, I don't understand how people are treating him like the second coming. It's too early to be confident. Who are we talking about, Matthew? Are we talking about Ncuti? Are we talking about Russell?
He's talking about David, I think. He's talking about David,
I think it's good that, people like myself are actually optimistic and confident and looking forward, because I am too. Well, I think the last time I got excited about Doctor Who was when Capaldi took over, and then that sort of died off towards the end of his first series. Because I thought it's nice.
I have to be honest though, I would probably be a lot more excited if it was Ncuti in the next one, not David.
I can see why some would feel that way, but I completely see. And in many respects, Simon, for me as a Doctor Who viewer, obviously that's what I prefer. I prefer this show to just move on and to move on and to move on.
But you know why they did it?
It's not in enough place to do that.
You know why they did it?
Because the brand was dead.
Yeah,
it was complete. It's effectively it is a massive restart. Not just abroad either. Not just abroad in this country. I mean, we spoke about it again on this show. People, why aren't you subscribed? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss, because we're bound to be right all over again. About 2 years ago, we said on this show, I said that I was hearing rumours that the BBC Films, as was then. This would have been certainly before the lockdown Who stuff. We were talking about it on Type 40. BBC Films wanted for 2023 to put a Doctor Who film in cinemas starring David Tennant. Now, if they were to do that now, without all this stuff with Disney, with Bad Wolf, if they were to have put a Doctor Who film in cinemas in the wake of the Chibnall catastrophe, starring anybody, even David Tennant, interest in Doctor Who, was it that much of a low? People just wouldn't have gone to see it. No. I mean, I would have.
I would have.
I'd wait till it came on telly.
It needs to be. It needs to be on television. This idea of being an event series is you keep that you keep that connection with you. You are coming to people in their homes domestically. You give them David Tennant, the bloke that they love in this role. I don't think people. I know that Matt Smith tends to be the more popular actor, certainly in America, but I cannot say this. I cannot underline this enough. Matt Smith is loved, but David Tennant is absolutely effing adored in Great Britain, particularly in this role. This was the quickest way to connect with that and to make people remember how much they love this show. And that's exactly what happened. Social media absolutely erupted right away. Certainly whilst we were online doing the reaction show, social media was absolutely exploding with oh my God, David Tennant's back. My phone started leaping. My messages, the amount of messages I got was ridiculous. And all these responses started filling up Twitter. So I might have to start watching this again. David Tennant coming back. I might have to start watching this again. Time to start watching again. I'm going to start watching again. I will be catching up. I wouldn't recommend that, Theo. And OS, I may have to start watching it. It's this all over again. And this is what I've heard in my day-to-day life too. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, same.
Really?
Yeah, my auntie. I got a message on WhatsApp from my auntie saying, David Tennant's back. What? I'm like, yeah, I couldn't say anything. Sorry. And she said, I'll have to start watching again. I think she ducked out when Matt Smith went. Look, I mean, everyone, I said before, my mum's not the biggest Doctor Who fan. She sat through it on Sunday, God bless her. But she loves David Tennant. She'll watch anything with David Tennant in.
See, that's really interesting because I know nobody that watched on Sunday, and I know nobody has said to me, "Oh, David Tennant's coming back." From my friends and family and stuff like that. The wider picture who are not Doctor Who. Nobody.
It's that YouTube clip. It's that YouTube clip has cranked up the views, but it was streamed across social media with a big countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You couldn't really escape it from what I've seen. No, but it was on the news. Obviously, it was on the nightly news. So
David Tennant was on the news.
Yeah.
David Tennant was on the BBC News talking about the fact that he's coming back. That was the start immediately, as I was saying to you earlier. That's the start immediately of Bad Wolf from the BBC studios going, new era, we've got to get hold of this. We're selling this now because, of course, you have all the business deals that are coming off the back of it. When it comes to YouTube, on that, I don't think I've watched the trailer 6,000 million times myself. I've watched the Regeneration 3 times on that. So it's fans going back and watching it. I don't think it's Joe Blogg's public going to look. Maybe the odd one.
Oh no, not repeatedly, but it did have a great effect. We got a press release as well. This was also put out right away whilst we were live the other night, and it says as Jody Whittaker's 13th Doctor regenerated on Sunday, the 23rd of October, it was none other than David Tennant who appeared as the 14th Doctor. But what has led to the return of a much-loved face? With David Tennant and Catherine Tate reprising their roles for the 60th anniversary, it has been confirmed that they will appear in 3 special episodes. I think we also said this before everybody else as well. 3 special episodes set to air in November 2023. The next Doctor, played by Ncuti Gatwa, will then take control of the TARDIS, with his first episode airing over the festive period in 2023.
Does that mean Christmas Day?
Christmas Day, it's got to be.
Sounds like it to me.
Russell has made it known he wants Christmas Day back.
Good. He'll 100%. He's been pushing for that. The statement finishes with Russell T Davies, who says, "If you thought the appearance of David Tennant was a shock." Well, no, it wasn't really, Russell, but go on, carry on anyway. We've got plenty more surprises on the way. The path to shoot his 15th Doctor is laden with mystery, horror, robots, puppets, danger, and fun. Sounds like closing time in Cradleheath. And how is it connected to the return of the wonderful Donna Noble? How, what, why? We're giving you a year to speculate, and then all hell lets loose. The 3 special episodes will transmit in November 2023 as Doctor Who celebrates its 60th anniversary. As fantastic as this is people saying it in the live chat now. This is 13 months is a hell of a long time to put a casual or fan audience on simmer for this.
Doesn't matter.
think.
No. It'll be fine because there's lots of other stuff coming throughout the next year. The whole year is being celebrated. There's Doctor Who's Diamond. There's documentaries coming. There's other things coming. It'll be laden through. The public will know it's here. They're going to spend a lot of money on just November alone to say, look, in that week you've got an event television. 3 and a bit hour series coming over that week. It's going to be huge. The public will be back. I guarantee you, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, it would blinking you're there. Seriously, it's not a long way.
Handful of heartbeats. What story was that from?
Well, it is a handful of heartbeats because, of course, we've also got Ncuti starts filming in November, and there'll be little tidbits coming because the next announcements are things like what he's wearing, who the companion is. They'll be building up to that. There'll be little tidbits. They know what they're doing here.
We ain't got rubbish to trudge through for next.
Look at
David Hammond says, "I love that they did this." Raymond Williams says, "Tennant is there to rebuild the audience." Sarah,
of course he is, and it's obvious. And you know, the BBC doesn't have to say that the Jody era failed. All they have to do is show us David Tennant, and we know it failed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're going to ignore it all. I mean, if you look at the information that's come out since Sunday compared to all 3 years of Chris Chibnall's era, it's immense because they're telling us what's going on and what's happening, but they're doing it in a very time professional way, and that's going to continue right from next month into next year.
Carol Jude's made a valid point here, Ian. Tennant is a surer bet in television than film here, and I suppose that idea that they had from BBC Films when they wanted to make a film. No, I you can take that to the bank. That they were set on making a film with David Tennant. Looking at it, that probably wouldn't have had much international appeal, would it? But international television, just as Carol says, it probably will. And with Disney Plus in the equation too, it's the missing piece of a puzzle.
Also, I hope, as JT has said in the past, I hope that when they go forward with Ncuti, they won't harken back to the past and keep bringing the stuff from the past into this. I just hope it's new stuff going forward with new shows, new stories, new characters, and just build from there. That's what I'm hoping. My fingers are crossed on that one. Yeah.
Matthew Pounder says revisited faces is an act of desperation. Yes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes, it's
Well, I think this goes back to what I was saying earlier, and it isn't a criticism of the production team for doing this at all. What it is, Matthew Pounder is quite correct. That's what I said earlier on. It's desperation, but it isn't a criticism. What it is, it's a statement of fact that it just goes to show how poorly the show is currently seen. So it's desperation because of the state of the show. It just gives an indication of
we had this kind of set out a little bit in The Day of the Doctor when Tom says you might find in the years to come you might find yourself revisiting a few but just the old favourites,
which they did in this last one.
A fun little line to explain him being the curator, but I think it leads in quite nicely.
I don't think that. I mean, what they're doing here, as we've all agreed on before, is this is a soft reboot. They're starting again, and they brought in Tennant to do it because it's in the gutter. I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm one of those people that have been ignoring it, as we all know. I'm really quite looking forward to seeing this now.
In fact, I'm sort of proud of the brand that they weren't too proud to admit that this is what needed, that drastic action needed doing, rather than wheel in somebody else who's cheaper and unsuitable and try to get them to jump through hoops. The series would not have lasted. It probably wouldn't have lasted 18 months. We've got Lord Thoth in the chat who says that Lady Thoth will watch anything that David Tennant is in.
There you go.
Now, not everybody.
This has come as a gift as well, isn't it? Because it's the 60th anniversary year, which is traditionally, 73, 83, and then 2013. It's a year that we can look back and bring older Doctors back. So that's part of the sell. So in a sense, it's a gift. It's a shame, don't get me wrong, but it's a gift because here's the excuse. Oh, we're bringing one of your favourites back because it's the big out party year.
And what's really interesting, Problem Being makes a brilliant comment in the chat here. This will be like bringing Tom Baker back after the trial of a Time Lord. Yes, spot on. That's exactly what this is like, actually. Exactly.
They did try to bring Tom back for the Dark Dimension in 1993. He was going to lead that special in not a dissimilar way to what we're seeing now.
Yes.
I mean, this move hasn't pleased everybody over on that bastion of reason and judgment and of stoicism and even-handedness that we call Twitter. I have not received this in quite the way that you would think. In fact, some of the behaviour has been, considering we're talking about somebody who is, David Tennant is approaching national treasure status, and amazingly, he's been met with hostility from some fans. In fact, David Tennant has even been sent death threats, or death threats have been stated on Twitter against this really popular actor, this family man, this huge Doctor Who fan. Inexplicably, there are people threatening David Tennant for coming back to this show, for stealing somebody else's thunder, for stealing that episode on Sunday because it's all about him. The man can't help being talented, is how I look at it. Have you seen much of this, Simon? This has passed you by.
No, well, you know me. I don't do social media for very good reasons. So, yeah, it's all passed me by.
I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Simon, you are best out of this because some of the stuff that has happened on Twitter over the last few days is shocking.
You've seen it too, JT.
We've got some of the stuff here. I'll just read these out for you, Spacebookers, if I may, because it's not just David. They are attacking Russell, of course, as well.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And it's a certain element that is I don't like calling them fans because they're not. They were there for a particular reason, and now that's gone, and now they're all absolutely out there. They are flying off their handles because they don't know what to make of it because nobody's fitting into their little worlds anymore. These are all quotes. This is the most disrespectful thing I have ever seen. Tennant and Russell T Davies' return is a reward for the sexist and toxic people who only attacked Jody's series. I bet the NMD lot loved watching Jody regenerate into David Tennant. I am sick. I will never watch again. Just remember, Doctor Who fans, you don't have to give NMD fools any attention. They are not proper fans. While they take their victory lap, please ignore and block them. I want Ncuti as 14, but no, we need to up the nostalgia factor and bring back DT before carrying on progressive change. I hate Doctor Who. I hate this so much. Literally, just naughty word, progress, and let the racists and sexists win. What a slap in the face for her and this historic era she was in. This is about David Tennant. He needs to learn. He needs to learn how to leave our show behind. Every time he returns, he ends up regressing the narrative. Not my 14th Doctor. And it goes on and on and on and on, and it's pathetic.
They do know that David and Jody are like best mates.
Well, that's their fault. But don't they know that the series is all about change?
Yes, that was the thing.
The thing is, though, they're entitled. They're entitled to their opinions, and that's that. You know, just like
the
we
nice
are.
ones. The opinioning has been mainly a lot of nastiness, and I've just given you the nice ones there because I'm not going to waste my time reading some of the sickening, heart-wrenching things that are out there. It's absolutely disgraceful, the attitude and what's going on. Yeah, absolutely. Problem being they are not there. 13 regenerating into 10 is both disrespectful to Jody and to Ncuti. This man has been overshadowing 13's era for as long as she's been here. She's been attacked and disregarded by being compared to him all the way through. Of course,
she acted like him.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
Of course, we're going to be upset. We have genuine reasons to be upset. Please.
Well, you know, as
they
I
didn't
said,
care about all of us when an unnecessary gender change came along, did they?
Exactly.
The points are, people in the live chat on YouTube, Facebook are saying, well, come on, it's Twitter. What do you expect? Twitter is insane. These people aren't fans. All of that is true. Of course it is. But what I think this draws attention to is the rank hypocrisy at the way that some people have been behaving, and the idea. I mean, I've even heard it said that the BBC has been captured by misogynists, and this, you know,
they should have been around in the 80s then, shouldn't they? Really, I'll tell you.
The problem being, as I said, they would try and cancel Russell T Davies. They've certainly cancelled. I mean, a man as progressive as Russell T Davies, but then again, they've tried to cancel other huge, creative powerhouse figures in popular culture when they've said or done something that they don't 100% agree with. It's the same playbook every time. James Fitzpatrick said David Tennant earned his beloved status Anyone else can earn their place as well, of course. Activists, not fans, says Matthew Pounder. Completely, I couldn't agree
not
more.
Not even proper activists. They think they are, but believe me, I was an activist in the late 80s and through the 90s, and they are not. They're just petulant kids who are not getting their own way.
I will never watch that show again. Good, says Will Hardgrave. Yeah, in those cases, yeah, it's their loss and not ours. And problem being, says they all lack.
There has been an awful lot of good stuff though as well with this. I mean, a lot of people did come on to say I wasn't expecting that, highlighting what we were talking about before. Reaction to Ncuti's video, he did that video where he's talking to us and he's reintroducing Doctor Who. Now that video itself said an awful lot to me about, here they go, they've got Ncuti in front of a camera introducing the Doctor and the series. To whom exactly? I thought that was lovely. Actually, they've started it again. They've been able to say, right, that's done. Here's your man now. This is where we're going. I swear he's going to be a brilliant as the Doctor. He seems lovely. Can't wait to see him. Well, then here we go again, which of course is a quote. I really, really cannot wait for this new era. I'm back to watch. That's Twitter language for you. Ncuti has all the best vibes. I'm currently feeling very optimistic. Looks like Ncuti is researching and getting a good knowledge of the show. I think he's going to give it 100%. What a welcoming new start we've had in just 24 hours. His personal approach on this video is a breath of fresh air. I'm hyped for this new Doctor, but first we've got to get through the brilliant and amazing David Tennant. Can't wait to see him as the 14th Doctor. So there were more. I think there were more positives, even about the logo, than there were nastiness.
Yeah, by far. Carol Jude says, it is unbelievable how vitriolic people can get about, of all people, him. He's one of us. Let's start this again. He's the most one of us that will ever play the Doctor, and such a decent person. It's kind of scary. What do they
Is this his fourth time? He had the 10th Doctor, the multiverse Doctor, whatever it was, and now he's back with us. So third time lucky on this one.
Yeah.
Bit of a history there, isn't it, for Doctor Who books? History, the only guy that's done 3.
As always, Georgia Tennant had something to say about this. She's a very prolific social media user, isn't she, Sarah?
She is, yeah. They're always fun, though, when she puts them on. And I especially like these ones when she has to try and make sense of her family.
So we've got this. This is the latest from Georgia Tennant. She says, okay, daughter of 5, girlfriend of 10, now wife of 14. There they are.
And look at their little Doctor Who hats. How sweet.
Yeah.
Bless them. That was them watching the birth of the 14th Doctor the other evening. They were with friends watching it at home. Yeah. They were there.
So they say.
Yes.
I bet they tuned in for the last 5 minutes.
Probably.
There is so much to talk about with all of this. Loads of things we haven't even touched on, and a lot going on in the Doctor Who universe at the moment. Thank you to everybody who's commented along in the live chat. We've got a couple more treats to come before we sign off. But yeah, lots of great comments and great questions. Thank you for interacting and for sticking with us for this long, everybody. Having a brilliant time. Type 40 Live back every Thursday from 8 p.m. here on the Spacebook channel and in podcast form. Type40.podbean.com. Come and find us there, stream us there too, and pass it on. Please pass it on. Let's help us grow this thing. Help us bring the party to more people so we can expand and celebrate the 60th anniversary in style and get as many people involved as we possibly can. We're going to keep evolving the show, keep working on it, keep bringing new creative ideas through. And your input is absolutely essential to that too. We're very grateful for anybody who spends their time, their evenings, or streams us after the fact. But any time or space you spend with us, we love it. Thank you so much. We'll be coming back to David Tennant, to Ncuti Gatwa, to Russell T Davies, to Disney Plus. All these topics will be returning to them in the future, as well as more nostalgia and silliness and stupid jokes. But I think we should finish off.
Did you say dust?
No. No, I didn't say dust.
No.
We should finish off with a look at some pretty pictures, everybody. Just a couple of pretty pictures to send us off into the ether.
We love pretty pictures.
We do. And there's none prettier than the sight of the Type 40 Live mug with a couple of Jaffa cakes there in Ian David Deer's kitchen, I believe that is it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And as much as we are getting some fantastic new publicity pictures coming out for the forthcoming, the all new
seen my
Doctor Who
Jaffa
era
cakes.
already. So yeah, he's famished. I think he's got an eye on the mug too. I think send David Tennant one of the.
I'm not sure we want to see Ian's Jaffa cakes. Actually, it's not that sort of show.
Just got to make sure that I don't send DT one before I send one to Shah, because she'll never talk to me again. But yeah, we've got a couple of pretty pictures to get into here, and yeah, obviously, Disney Plus getting involved with Doctor Who. I never saw this coming, but there's a lovely bit of fan art that I've seen here, Simon. This is from Fernaf.
God, no.
That's going to happen. I swear that's going to happen now.
You do realise, actually, thinking about it, it probably won't be long before we start seeing Mickey Mouse dressed as the Doctor appearing in Disney shops at Disney World.
Possibly.
Oh, do you know what?
Build-A-Bear.
What you said, Simon, just now. What you said just now. Yeah. So Doctor Who merchandise is probably going to end up in the Disney stores, isn't it? Blimey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that would be cool. I mean, I have to be honest. It would be cool to have a Mickey Mouse dressed as Tom Baker, let's say.
Well, they did it. They did it with the Star Wars people, didn't they? So it could happen.
Do you think they'll get go to us to Disneyland rides, and we'll have like a Weeping Angel ride and a Dalek ride? And...
Yeah,
it would be cool.
Maybe.
Like Doctor Who World, like Harry Potter World and Jurassic Park World.
Because in the Disney stores, they got sections, didn't they? Marvel, they got Disney, they got, you know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting if they have a section for Doctor Who. That's going to be interesting.
It's certainly good for merchandise side of stuff. So stay tuned. We've got lots of news coming over that over the next few months.
Yeah, we'll definitely be touching on merchandise next week. Merchandise in relation to all the changes that are coming. But one of the things that I love about this, Ian, is that I've worked on some Disney brands. I know how meticulous they are, that their characters, every line has to be right. And I thought, this isn't right, And then I realised why. It's because they've given him David Tennant's little quiff there on the top of his head.
I have,
Mickey Tennant.
Lovely.
Absolutely wonderful stuff.
Give him his trainers as well.
No, Robert's just come up with something there. Will the merchandise, Robert, be exclusive to Disney stores? So it's no. There are going to be subtle differences, and if you look at our Who Shop exclusive with Alex, there's a little bit of a hint in that as to
I
what
was
could
there.
But no, it won't be just exclusive to Disney.
But you might, at some point in the future, you might end up getting Disney exclusive merchandise.
Maybe.
Will that hurt the Who Shop then, JT, do you think, if that actually happened?
No.
Okay.
No.
Who knows? Will we see Goofy dressed as...
God.
We've already seen that, Trimplene.
Yeah.
Mickey with a bow tie, says Lord Thoth.
That's offensive to Goofy, to be fair.
Kelly says, I want Donna merch. Oh dear, JT, she's uttered the expletive. Don't give them ideas, says Matthew Pounder. He's not sold on that. Now, as happy as I was to see David Tennant stood there in his new plaid suit and with his slightly new but old hair, as happy as I was with that, and I think that generally fans were very, very happy about that, apart from a few loonies on Twitter. Some people have got to try and improve on perfection already, Sarah. Take a look at this pretty picture. What if? It was...
He looks old there, doesn't he?
It does.
Because he is.
It was the physique and the physique of the Ninth Doctor there, stood there at the edge of that cliff there. Can you imagine this moment? What would his first words have been, do you think?
Fantastic.
I wouldn't be able to repeat it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that Instagram video I did about Rick Litter? I think it'd have been like that.
He'd have either said, just like you said, Simon, Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor would have either said a very low sort of fantastic, or maybe he'd have said, like in the Big Brother episode, you have got to be kidding, something like that.
Oh, that would be good. If he could have got his ears and gone, I know these ears.
Yeah.
I know this little.
Yeah, I'm down, totally
Eccleston
down for
doesn't
that.
have to draw though with the public that Tennant does, so they've done the right thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, they absolutely have, and I still want to see Christopher Eccleston back in that role. I don't.
There's a lot of noise in that picture, isn't there?
I just have
Yeah.
Paul McGann and Chris Eccleston spin off.
That'd be fantastic. As he could say.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. And yes, obviously we can't have everything all at once. Who knows what's coming in 2023? More talk about that next week. But yeah, we do have people have been asking why. We had in The Power of the Doctor, numerous classic Doctors were there. Paul McGann was there, Sylvester McCoy was there, so was Colin Baker and Peter Davison. David Bradley was there, who's a kind of a classic, an honorary classic Doctor. I think that's not too...
well, actually, I think that's down to your point of view. He doesn't count at all for me.
No, I think he deserves. Yeah, I do. I do respect David Bradley a lot as an actor, and I kind of like what he does.
He's a great actor, but he's not the Doctor.
I'm fine to sort of to have him sort of nestled in there a little. No. But it's quite understandable that some were asking, where was Tom, the only classic Doctor? Why wasn't he there? And Chris Chibnall did put out a very brief statement and said that Tom was asked to be in The Power of the Doctor, but he was unavailable. And obviously, Tom is 89 years of age in a couple of months' time, and he does still work. He does still act, but it's very much at his discretion, as you would expect for a man of his years. And it could be any one of a number of reasons. Maybe he was abroad. Maybe he was working, because he does still work. And I'm sure there was a good reason for Tom not being there. And I wouldn't really read anything necessarily into that.
No, not at all.
But in his honour, JT, we've got this brand new illustration here. This is from Doctor Who master artist Andrew Skilleter, and it's part Andrew's about to. In fact, I think he's mailing them out now. If you've ordered Andrew's Doctor Who calendar, you should be getting it in the post the next 2 or 3 weeks. But he's including this new illustration as an extra. So we've got Andrew Skilleter's take on the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker there. This beautiful new illustration that he's put up on social media with a wonderful sort of blue glow coming out of his hand. I'm not exactly sure what that energy is, but who needs to know these things? It's wonderful and very evocative and very Tom, isn't it, Simon? He's absolutely speechless.
Sorry, I am still here. I was just sorting the dog out for a second there. Yeah, it is Tom. I'm just not sure on the likeness on that, but it's very cartoony. I like it very, very much. What's unusual about it is it's very Andrew Skilleter, to be honest. It's not his sort of style at all. He doesn't generally do that kind of cartoony sort of style. But so say, the likeness I'm not convinced on, but the actual artwork itself, I love. Beautiful.
What do you think, Ian? Is this your thing? 'Cause it's traditional art as well, isn't it? Not digital.
Yeah, it looks like something that's come out of a comic. So yeah, it's okay. I like it. It's all right.
Yeah,
I like it. I like the swirl in the hat as well.
What is it?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
It's something mystical and doctorish.
He looks like he's spraying some kind of horrible web like Spider-Man out of his wrist, doesn't it, into his hat?
I do like it from the point of view. It just feels very sort of old school.
It is, I think,
and that's why I like it.
Yeah.
It feels quite classic, and because we do seem to be sort of now beginning to harken back to more of the classic era, given the logo. Yeah, it feels just hugely appropriate. So gets a thumbs up from me.
Nice picture to close off on there. Well, I think it reminds me of the Dave Gibbons, Tom Baker comic strips from the original Doctor Who weeklies. I think that's why I like it so much. As you say, it's got that comic book kind of feel. But yeah, if you are a fan artist or a fan artist that you think that we should know about, get in touch with us through our social media, Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who, or join us, connect with us on Facebook. There's the Type 40 Facebook page, or join us in real time in the Type 40 Facebook group and show us your art or point us in the right direction of whoever it is that we're missing, and whatever treats for the eyes lay out there somewhere. There's Doctor Who art, such a creative community. It's filling up social media on the daily. We can't possibly catch everything, but we do try. Let us know who you like and what they do and where, and put them in touch with us too. We'd be delighted to see that. And we've been delighted with your company this evening. Thanks for all the comments on YouTube and Facebook. It's really appreciated. Keep the comments coming. Like the video if you haven't already. Don't know how many likes we've had. We've had a lot of people watching tonight. Thank you. Keep the engagement up. Please comment about all of this, about the Disney Plus stuff. about that teaser trailer that certainly got us all talking about the return of David Tennant, about Ncuti Gatwa's first appearance, really, as a kind of ambassador, a brand ambassador for this show, as well as the lead actor there. What do you think about the new Doctor Who logo, the new old Doctor Who logo? It's like seeing an old friend again, isn't it? But
it is.
There's bound to be some people out there who don't like it. If you didn't like it, get in touch and let us know what you'd have preferred too. Maybe you'd preferred one of the choices that we came up with the other week on the show.
Oh, God, they were awful. Hey, listen, thank you, Facebookers, for staying with us, because we've done it again. We've gone over, but hasn't it flown by? It's really gone by. You won't realize it's been here for 3 days. I mean, it's just amazing. So thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah, the party continues next time here at Type 40 Live, 8 p.m. every Thursday, and over on the podcatchers, type40.podbean.com. That's where you can get the audio editions afterwards as well. But yeah, that's it for this time. Thanks, everybody. Keep the comments coming. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. Keep your eyes peeled for more Doctor Who. It's bound to keep on coming now, and we'll try and cover as much of it as we can. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40, but that's it for this time. Good night, everybody. You take care.
Bye.